Ready or not, here we go. Happy Friday, everybody. It's great to see you. Welcome back. I'm drinking wine tonight because I never do anymore. I was a bit frantic putting the show together until the very last moment. And I think this medicine can't hurt. Surely it can't hurt. One more sip. Mm. Oh, yeah. Happy Friday night, everybody. Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. It's our night. It is gallery night tonight. If you're new to the channel and new to the show, this is the night. We try to do this once a month. Sometimes it doesn't happen quite as often as I would like, but we try to average once a month that we spend a Friday night looking at each other's work. So for those of you who tune in, sometimes people send some stuff, and yeah, we're going to talk about this piece over my shoulder too. It feels nice, like a little scarf having a cat wrapped around my shoulder. It feels very cozy. This is a Linda Schultes Hoffman piece, and we're going to be looking at a bunch of Linda's pieces partway through. But it's great to see you all, and happy Friday. How did that happen? I feel like I was sitting on the couch 5 minutes ago and it was Tuesday. It was still Tuesday, and I thought, oh, good, it's not even Wednesday. And then it all went crazy, avalanche, quicksand style, didn't it? Oh my word, Deborah! I wrote to you. I didn't get your message back in time. I wrote, and we're gonna have to feature that amazing piece that you sent. Well, and the one that you were starting in the next show because they came as a weird format. I'm a super dinosaur. I can't open anything that's not like a JPEG or a PDF. And they came as something else. I'm so sorry. I wrote to you, but it probably didn't reach you in time. I'm so sorry. We'll definitely have it for next time. It'll be the first thing on deck for the next show. I had a couple of those tonight that came in. I bet you all have updates that are like things that normal people get on your computers. But for me, if it offers me an update, I typically say no because I'm so afraid I'm not going to be able to type or turn the computer on or basic stuff because I'm that bad. Deborah, I'm so sorry about that. Well, look forward to yours next time. I hate not having everything in the show that I mean to put in the show. But I want to say good night. I want to say hello and start the night with everybody first. Last week we had on Janine, which was so much fun, wasn't it? Going through the library in Indiana. I forget what the name of the town was. Began with an R, I think. Well, no, Weldon. What was it? Anyway, we looked at an exhibit of all of Janine's rugs that are hanging up at a library. I think it was Indiana last week, and it was such a fun night. But I didn't, because we had a guest on, I didn't do as much silliness and chatting as I normally do on a Friday night. And now I feel I have to get that out of my system. I'm like a child who's like it's like a pot, like a steaming over pot that's dying for some silliness and some chat. I love all of our shows. I loved last Friday night. We have to do more shows together. I just wrote to my buddy Kirsten. Wait till you see the piece that Kirsten has in the show tonight. And I said we really need to do a show together. And Kirsten said we really need to do it in person together, which of course we do, because I just need to drive to Vermont. We need to do that in person. Look at all of Kirsten's pieces. You are going to flip your flipper. There is now a technique that is called the Kirsten. When you see her piece, you're going to say, I know that eventually we are all going to have techniques that are named after us. We had the Buzzell border in the last show on Wednesday, right? They're really incredible. Was it Phyllis? Wait a minute. Nope, nope, nope. Priscilla Buzzell. We're going to go back to Priscilla on Monday. But there's it's not you, it's me. Slowly noticing things that each person does and realizing, ooh, this really is something different. I have not seen this before, and then I have to call it, I have to call it by your name. So, Kirsten, we will certainly do that. I hope we can do that with a lot of people. I hope that this has been a big traveling year for me, and it will continue to be a traveling year. And I hope that all future years are traveling years so I can make my way all over the place and get to see everybody in person and get the hugs and get to sit down and work together and chat and do shows together and look at everybody's work in person. That would be a really big thing. There's lots of big things coming up. And as I say, I don't mean to be weird or ominous or whatever. There's a lot of stuff that I would love to tell you that I can't tell you yet. And part of it is being careful, ribbon candy hooking brand stuff. And part of it is other stuff that's bigger stuff. And everything will come out on time. But there's going to be lots of excitement in the near future. I'm going to start this episode by doing a small reveal that has to do with ribbon candy hooking so that you know what my next big project is in my head. I've been hinting at this and I'm so sorry to do that. I hate to be so annoying, but I really do have to be careful because I have so many ideas for projects that I'd like to do, and I love to do book projects. Magpie's going strong. We'll talk about that more later. That we're about to put out the second issue, and this will be a quarterly, foreseeable, maybe more in the future. But if so, then we need more like consistent help because it's just Judy Taylor and I for the most part, like putting it actually together. But there's so many book projects that I have in my mind that I want to work on, and I've started working on all of them a little bit. And I'm really reluctant sometimes to talk about big projects like book projects because, not that I think other people are jerks, right? It's just sometimes when I think of something and I say, oh, I don't know that anyone's done that before, I'd love to do that, but I'd hate it if someone got there first, because if there's one thing I don't have, it's time. And that's the one thing that I worry about when I say, like, this is what I'm working on now. Can't you help? Who wants to help? Who's in? I always wait a little bit until I'm in a really good place to make those kinds of announcements because I'm so nervous that someone else, not everybody is a huge fan of me, right? I just came stomping onto the rug hooking scene and upset a lot of people quickly. And I know whatever people know what I'm working on and know what I'm doing, but I would hate to announce stuff too quickly sometimes. That's me being in scarcity mode and me being a jerk, and I'm honestly not like that, but some things mean so much to me that I have to be super careful. And this project means so much to me. I have been waiting to do an all Halloween book since the beginning. Well, since I was a child, dressing in my Halloween costumes from CVS, who did not know that there was a larger world out there, and that I would become a rug hooker, and that I would have a company, and that all of this would happen. It was already in me because I'm such a big Halloween person. I'm not into gory stuff and horror stuff, but I just love that early version, that super sweet, crazy, silly, colorful dress up version of Halloween. I love the fun and the play and the theater of the day. And to my knowledge, there is not a really prominent, or in my mind, not at all Halloween book for rug hookers. So I've been putting together designs, and Barbara just asked me, how many designs do you think there are? And first I said 30, then I said 40. Now I'm thinking it might be more like 50. But it's going to be an all Halloween book, and I'm going to bring it out at the end of the summer, probably the first week of September. That's my goal. And people who are on Patreon and support me that way with the Ribbon Candy Hooking brand, you already know this. And I sent some of the designs to you, and some people said, I'm doing it, I got it, I'm doing it, I'm doing this one. And I've been meaning to, for the last week, send a bunch more, but I haven't had the time because I've been working on Magpie and trying to get orders out. So I do have a bunch more for you Patreon members. That is the first thing I do when I get off from gallery night tonight. And Lisa, the next thing I do is dye the last two colors for your order, because I'm damned if I'm not sending that tomorrow. Sorry. But sorry about that. It is taking some time because I'm a bit overwhelmed. So, in short, right, this is a project that you can jump into, and I hope that you will if you're feeling it. This is a Halloween book, again, all Halloween, and it will be all ribbon candy hooking patterns. And there will be tons of patterns in the book that are gridded, that you can blow up to whatever size you want. The patterns will also be available as just patterns on any backing on the Ribbon Candy Hooking site once the book comes out. For those of you who are like, I want to do a bunch of them, not going to fool around with grids or blowing stuff up. So they'll be available both ways. But for those of you who are like, okay, I'm going to do this one as mini punch, I'm going to do this one as rug, I'm going to do this one as Prati, I'm going to quilt this one. It's going to be filled to the brim with all Halloween designs. So if you would like to jump into the project and say, I really want something in that book, I'm a really big Halloween person. If you are not a Patreon subscriber and you haven't seen that list of patterns yet that I've only put to Patreon to say, listen, these are ones that are kind of secret. I don't want everybody seeing them because then it won't be exciting when the book comes out. But there are quite a few in Patreon, and there will continue to be quite a few in Patreon. If you aren't a Patreon subscriber and you want to do something and be sure that it goes into the book, look at all of the Ribbon Candy Hooking Halloween patterns, and there's a lot of them on Ribbon Candy Hooking. I might put more in, but at this moment, I'm kind of keeping all of the dozens of Halloween patterns I have active right now for the book project. And I know a lot of people are thinking, oh, it should be out right now because I won't be done in time for Halloween. And all I can say to that is I am a real dud where that is concerned. And I personally can't work on Halloween stuff when it isn't Halloween. This is a problem. I know it's me. Again, it's not you, it's me. So in my mind, I really see the book and want the book to come out right as soon as the kids go back to school and we're getting into that autumn feel and we're getting there. It'll be a book that will be there for years. I hope to do a Halloween book just about every other year with new patterns, right? So it'll be ribbon candy hooking patterns, which include patterns by the people who design for ribbon candy hooking, like Kirsten, like Colleen, like Kelly Smith. Um, there's maybe going to be some more people who will be designing by then, and you will see their work at the Ribbon Candy Hooking store. But everybody who's under the Ribbon Candy Hooking umbrella is welcome to, will have patterns, including a ton of mine, in the Halloween book. And I hope that you jump on board. If you have hooked something that's one of my designs that's a Halloween or autumn theme, please let me know because I want to be sure we have a good, clear picture of it to put in the book. Or if you're thinking, oh, well, autumn is my favorite season, maybe it doesn't have to be strict Halloween. It can be autumn, but I want it to be overtly autumn. I want it to be a super atmospheric book, right? Really that time of year. I want to know that you're all sitting there with your cider going through this book and really feeling it. It's also going to have recipes, Halloween lore, vintage poems, everything Halloween. So be thinking about that and be thinking about working on ribbon candy hooking patterns because if you have them ready by I'm going to say the end of August, right, which is a good long time, they will be in that book, right? I'm putting the book together. I'm not going to work with any publisher this time. I'm going to self-publish this book the same way that we've been doing Magpie. Works great, total control. Um, everybody who wants to have work in there will have work in there. So that's something to look forward to. And I'm very excited because I've been waiting a long time and I did 2 book projects that I was very happy with, but this has always been the one that I've wanted to do. And there's a bunch behind it that I'll announce when we get a little more traction and I'm ready to get the Halloween book out the door. I want to average 2 books a year. So stay here, stay tuned in, be aware of the projects that we've got going within this brand because I always want your work not just on gallery night. I want your work every day of the year. I want your work in print. I want you to know that your stuff is in print, that it's great, that other people are looking at it, that it's meaningful, and that it is eternal, right? So all of these things coming up, but that is the next thing. Melissa, great to see you. Good evening from sunny Sackville, New Brunswick. Good to be with you. Cheers, my dears. Good to be with you too. Got some Sauvignon Blanc, which I love these dry whites. Mm-mm. Melanie, great to see you. Hello and happy Friday from sunny and cool Washington. Happy Friday. Cheryl, cheers, my dears. Everyone, cheers, everyone. A short time sunny. Oh, now looking to rain. Great for gallery night. Well, it better be nice next week and the week after, and the week after that, when I'm there on the Cape. And I think you'll probably be seeing Cheryl. Cheryl, I forgot to post the pictures. Oh my God, I forgot to post the whole Cape Cod show. Okay, so that's not good. So maybe we'll do that while I'm on Cape Cod. Maybe I'll post. Remember, I went to the Cape Cod Cranberry Show, like not last weekend, but the weekend before. I forgot to post that whole show. We were looking. What is wrong with me? I'll get that up to you soon, I promise. That was an excellent show. And Cheryl and I are going to get together with our other buddy, Nature Bound, when I'm on Cape Cod. It was leaving next Thursday and there for about 2.5 weeks. So you'll be seeing videos of me there, looking at some fun stuff, finding some finds, and hopefully me with other buddies working on our projects. That will be really something fun. Cheryl, I can't wait to see you again. Andrea, great to see you. Cheers, my dears. You're snuggled on the sofa with sleepy dogs. Last few days dog sitting. Going to miss them? Oh, I bet. Oh, I bet, Andrea. That sounds great. I'm thinking of your pup, of course, but that sounds great. Mm. Ryan Richards, there you are. Ryan, I haven't seen what you're working on lately. Again, it's not you, it's me. I haven't been on the website a lot. I haven't been on the Facebook page. Ryan, are you working on something enormous? I would love to know. Ryan, I wonder if you ever want to do a video together. like a live video. Maybe when you're putting together one of your huge frames, or at one of those crucial moments where you're putting up the frame and you're getting ready to put a vintage piece up there and start working. If you ever want to do it, let me know. I think people are so interested in the way that you work and the work that you do. Kaz, great to see you. Happy Friday from Wisconsin. Beautiful evening. Painting patio chairs outside. Oh, that sounds like fun. You spray painting or old fashioned painting? That sounds like fun. I can picture your patio out there. Very cozy and welcoming. Lisa, great to see you. Happy Friday. Deborah, hello from Owatonna, Minnesota. There we go. Tonight. I've been having great fun at the rug cooking event here. I can't wait to hear all about it. Deborah, take if you can take pictures and stuff, because maybe we can talk about it while I'm on Cape Cod, and I could run a quick show, or we could at least do something so we know more about the event and what you're working on. I feel so bad that that photo wouldn't open. I do have the text from your post. Um, if you, well, I have to turn my phone off. Let's figure it out, because I really want to know what you're doing, where you are, who you're with. This sounds creepy, doesn't it? And what you all are doing. I can't wait to hear more about that event. Mom, great to see you. Happy Friday cocktail night. I calmed down quite a bit. My mom got a few frantic messages earlier because she sent a check over to me, and I did a classic like signed the wrong check thing. Like I lately, I'm just not. I'm so busy. I'm just not focused. This is exactly the right time for a vacation. It's like, when you're about to go on a vacation and you've been cranking for so long, and it's like, there's still 1,010 things to do before you go on the vacation. And it's not like I'm not going to have my lap frame on my lap the entire time I'm on vacation. We're just kind of hanging out, and I do my projects. But it's on Cape Cod, right? So nothing can be wrong in the world when I'm out there. But it's the same thing as when you have to go to the bathroom really bad, and you're pulling into home, and it's really bad at that moment. And the same kind of premise as when you think it's going to be a snow day the next day, and you're a kid, and it turns out it's only rain. You get these moments in life where you're set up for something, and you feel like you're holding your breath. That's exactly how I'm feeling right now. But I do plan to be somewhat present and bring some content while I'm away, because I do miss getting together for sure. Melanie, hi Ryan, and Kirsten says happy Friday. Can't wait to see all the great work everyone does. It is so great. Another great night of work. It's stellar again. April, great to see you. Hello in Illinois. Happy cocktail night to you too. Catherine, watching from your road trip. You're still traveling. I haven't had a chance to call yet. I'll call over the weekend if that works for you. I'm so glad that you're tuned into, and I can't wait to hear about your road trip. Karen, good evening from warm Black Forest, Colorado, with a glass of wine in hand. Fantastic. You sent me some beautiful stuff to show tonight. Thank you so much. Maureen Mativa, great to see you. Glad to be there from warm and sunny Michigan. Oh, I'm so happy to have you. You are so welcome. Happy Friday. Olivia, oh no, already? You're kidding me already? Gosh, I feel like you just got here. Do you feel like that too? You're headed back to Ireland. Happy cocktail night. You're at JFK Airport back to Ireland. Oh, Olivia, I hope it was a great time. I know you had some rainy days, but I hope it was great. You were in Boston and New York City. Two of the great places on the East Coast for sure. Two of the great places of the world. I can't wait to hear more about your trip. Linda H., great to see you. Happy cocktail night from Massachusetts. Great to see you. Linda, I wanted to ask you about that piece still. I'll send you an email. I wanted to be sure that the one I thought was you is you, because I'll shoot that right out the door if it is. I feel like I screwed something up. Confusion. Um, Olivia says, Deanna put a kit together for me to take home. So grateful. Went over and above. You know how I feel about rug hooking emergencies. When you were having a true rug hooking emergency, you were only here for a set amount of days. I really wanted to get that to you so that it arrived at your hotel in New York City, and you got it in time. And now it travels with you back to Ireland, because God knows the shipping would have been crazy. I put an extra large package together full of extra love, because I was so worried that you would run out of colors and not be able to get them or be struggling. So can't wait to see that. No pressure. But I was very happy to put it together for you. I can always, you know from past times, I'm always slammed with stuff to do, but things that are like time sensitive, I try to be sensitive to that too. And it didn't take that long. It just took some presence of mind, which isn't always available, but it was when I put yours together. Dawn, great to see you in Michigan. I sent your thing out today too. Great to see you, my love. Dave, great to see you. Turkey taters. Turkey, turkey. Maybe turkey taters and cider. Yard sale tomorrow. So much stuff. You're having a yard sale tomorrow or you're going to yard sales tomorrow? You can't be parting with stuff, surely, right? You love to gather. You're more of a gatherer than a parter with. Oh, I can't wait to hear about that. Wendy, great to see you. Cheers from Western Pennsylvania. Did you see the cover piece, the thumbnail for the show? It was, well, I'm going to introduce it. It's going to be the second, you're the second on deck. I think Kathy Lynch is the first on deck. And then I think, Wendy, it's you, and you are hooking with plastic bags. You have to give us some comments because you're going to be getting some questions. For those of you who haven't seen Wendy Simon's work, hooking with plastic bags, and by plastic bags, I mean plastic shopping bags, right? You are the master. It looks like crystal. It looks like those crystal sticks that you stir tea and coffee with. You know what I mean? Those candy sticks. Cooking with plastic bags, at least yours looks like that. It is so pretty and crystalline and jewel-like, and it's so magical. I just love it. You'll see. Joyce, great to see you. Happy cocktail night. Also, Pennsylvania, great to see you. Kathy, great to see you. You know, Kathy, I have 3 pieces of yours that I don't think I showed on the last gallery night that I don't have in Magpie. So we're going to start the show with those. You are the queen of primitive, and you do not disappoint. You sent some beautiful stuff in. And I don't think I used it for the last episode, so we're going to start this episode with it. Wendy, you love the purple cat sitting over my shoulders. This is Linda Schultes Hoffman. Beautiful folky piece. This is going to be later on in the show. I think Linda sent maybe 4, maybe 5, 4 pieces in and then a close-up, I think. Yes, so it reminds me a little bit of a Mola cat. And Wendy, it reminds me of the 2 from the children's drawings that you did that are on deck, right? So it's just so cool seeing people working in this really folky style. This is my favorite style. I just love it. It's a lot of fun. Karen said, "Do you only want your Halloween patterns, or can you create your own?" So Karen, the thing about I would love other people's, but the thing about it is the pattern. I want the patterns in the book to be free patterns. So when somebody gets the book, all of the patterns in there. If you're a person who likes to work from the book, all of the patterns are also in the book. So I'm definitely happy to take patterns that are other people's patterns and the finished example of the rug, but then I would also want the line drawing in there so if someone loves it, they can repeat it. Because while it's going to be a part history book, part inspiration book and part gallery, right? It's going to be all of those things. I do want it to still function as like a practical book where someone can say, "Oh God, I love this. I've got to do this," and there it is for them. So I want it to be consistently like that. So if that fits your thoughts, then that could definitely work. That's a great question. Thank you. Oh, Kathy says, as you speak, I'm hooking BFW. BFW is one of the patterns that went out to Patreon members. It stands for, the Roald Dahl book called Big. I almost said a bad word because I because I say it all the time as a joke to myself and it's not funny. Big, friendly giant. Whew, that was close. So I created a pattern that was that same kind of a scale. Sorry about that. Big, friendly witch. And it's a big witch. It's a very primitive design. Perfect for Kathy's primitive style. It's just perfect. So happy. And if you finish that one, there's more. There's more where that came from, Kathy. Sorry, I'm taking forever. I'm so sorry. Linda B. Cheers, my dears in New Jersey. Great to see you, my love. Happy Friday night. Christine, great to see you. I am so glad you're there. Did you get my message that I got the stuff you sent me for Magpie? And thank you so much. That was so kind of you. Last weekend, or was it the weekend? It was the weekend before. Was it the weekend I was on Cape Cod? I can't remember. I think it might have been. But Christine, you went to one of these fairy village walks where in the woods there were a bunch of these fairy house villages, right? And one of the pieces I'm working on for Magpie is a fairy village piece that I can't reveal all of it, but I'm going to show you some of it tonight. Well, Christine went to one of these fairy villages and took photos and sent some great sort of literature that I can use in Magpie. Thank you ever so much. You sent some beautiful stuff, and I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you. Leah, I am so glad. You are in Newfoundland. Okay, so I got to say, Leah, I saw your stuff right before I saw your post in our Facebook group, which is Raw Cooking and Punch Needle Club, about 15 minutes before I went live, maybe half hour, but pretty dang close. And I hadn't seen your post yet, and I almost fell off my chair. There's a cushion here. That's the only thing that stopped me. I could not believe what you were doing. I absolutely loved your post. And I hadn't seen any posts from you yet. So I just wanted you to know how much it meant to me to see something that blew me away, like the work that you're doing right now. And you're, I guess, a beginner, and you were asking for if anybody has any suggestions. I think tonight you have to give us some suggestions, because what I saw was immaculate, super creative. I'm going to show it to you tonight because I have it in the show. But Leah, I'm really glad that you tuned in. I'm sure it's a really absurd hour over there, or maybe it's morning already. But I'm very happy that you tuned in, and I'm very happy that you posted that stuff and that you're in the group, because I'm very curious to see what you're going to do next. And now, Ryan LeBeau, our other Ryan, you are there in North Texas with your Pinot Grigio. You are outside. Peace and love to you too, my love. It's sunny and warm there. Happy Friday night. It's good to see you. Barbara, you are on for a little while and my mouth is just running. I better get going with content. Wait, 50? Yeah, I think Barbara's working with me on the Halloween book. I think it might be 50. I went through, every time I open something, there's like 4 more patterns that I forgot about. So it does add up, but I'm going to cover a lot of them. We'll see how far we get. We'll leave it at that. We'll see how far we get, because we know there will be more Halloween books in the future. I want this one to be like hit out of the park. Kaz, spray paint in lavender color. Oh, you're doing the patio chair spray paint lavender. That sounds amazing. That sounds amazing. I can totally picture that in your stunning garden. I can't wait to come again, inviting myself. Lillian, great to see you. Happy Friday night. Sorry, hubby had a major hip replacement, so it's been hard. Well, I'm very glad that you're here. Is he doing okay? Is he recovering okay? Oh, that's so awful, isn't it? So intrusive in life when you have to have this stuff done. Olivia says that your trip here to Boston, New York was absolutely fabulous. Oh, I'm so glad. Dave says you are having a yard sale. Oh, no, you're not throwing away amazing stuff, are you? 28 years of stuff gone, hopefully. Plenty left for crafting. Okay. Okay. I know that you are cautious and you would not throw away anything that was like, had any promise for the future, right, of crafts. Um, oh, Judy, great to see you. Judy is here in Weathers. No, you're not in Weathersfield. You are in, well, your shop is in Weathersfield, right? Thistle Needleworks is in. Judy, I forgot to go a couple weeks ago. I just remembered. I forgot. And I have to say, in my own defense, I am the worst. I was going to stop by because Judy had some stuff for me. I had to go to a meeting of the judges of the Big E. And by the time I got in the car and I got going to Springfield, I could see there was traffic and I just had to keep going. But I meant to write and say, I'm so sorry I wasn't able to stop that day. I will try to get to you. Always love seeing you. And I'm hoping that we can sit soon and talk crazy about samplers and things like that, because I know you've got a crazy amount of information and inspiration, and I really love the thing that you sent me too. Our plastic bag rugs functional or strictly decorative? Oh no, they're super functional because they're totally waterproof. So if you hook with plastic bags, right, and you, Wendy, what backing are you hooking into? Are you doing linen, or are you doing like latch hook backing? Judy, you can, no matter what backing you're using, right? You could use plastic shopping bags cut up, and you can put them outside or in front of the sink in the kitchen or in the bathroom. They're super utilitarian because they're waterproof. Sorry. Oh dear. Um, Jay Sam's, great to see you from sunny Nova Scotia. Oh, Leah, I'm glad. There's lots more. There's lots more where that came from. There's lots more tonight. So let's get started with our content. We have some beautiful, look, one more chug on this, right? It doesn't sound right, but I'm going to say, I don't think I drink enough. I mean, hardly ever anymore. Kathy, You are the master of primitive. I just love all the primitive stuff you do. And it wasn't until I got to the show in person in New Hampshire this past year, the Deerfield Fair, the big, I don't know if it's a county fair or what, but a big country fair at least. And I saw so many of your pieces. So well done. Now I've gotten to know you so much better. Um, oh, Wendy's answering that Wendy is hooking with plastic bags into leftover burlap and linen. That's fantastic. Wendy, do you have the thought in the future that you would ever wash them? That wouldn't happen, right? Because they're already waterproof, so you wouldn't need to wash them, right? Because nothing could possibly get dirty but the backing. That's the only part that's fabric, and you wouldn't. I don't think you would want to do that. Wait till you see crazy. It's just crazy work. It's very inspiring. Kathy says, I would send these along if you needed content for Friday night shows. I always do, and I always love it when you're represented. One is finished, one is almost finished. The round one is 24 inches. So let's look at these. I saw these just briefly. I don't look at stuff in great detail that I put in the show because I want to look together. Let's look at the first one. Wendy says, no, I would never wash them. I agree. There would be no sense in doing that, would there? I mean, the plastic probably couldn't take it alone, right? That would make absolutely no sense. I could see hitting them with a hose softly, but I don't even think you would need to do that. I mean, if you were using them utilitarian, yours are art, right, Wendy? They're not like out on the doorstep. But I could see, I know of a lot of people who use plastic shopping bags to braid or to do Amish toothbrush, right? One of those rag forms. And I can imagine that if they are outside for a while, or you've got one on your patio with your lavender color spray painted chairs, I can imagine that it's possible that they would become moldy. And then I would think, ooh, good time to hit them with the hose. But I agree with you, I would never wash them. I don't think they would ever suffer that kind of abuse. Mine are only wall art. Oh, they sure are. Okay, truly they are, Wendy. They are like amazingly great. All right, Kathy, let's see what you've been working on over here. You now this isn't particularly primitive. This is one of your more Celtic pieces. Now, a beautiful round piece. This is the one, Kathy, I think that's 24 inches hooked with number 5 cut. Am I right about that? It's done using textures and spot dyes. Well, that fits. Let me read this first. And the no, let's I don't want to talk about the other yet. This looks like a large piece, right? 24 inches is bigger than I thought because I think your other one is like a chair pad size. This is just stunning. Um, the Celtic designs are really compelling, aren't they? They're very hard to do. 5 cut is not a primitive cut for you, so this is a little bit off the beam for you. You're doing something in a little bit of a narrower cut, still absolutely beautiful. You're very, very good at balancing solids with patterned, modeled, all of that, all the patterny stuff, textures, right, spot dyed. You're very good at balancing that. You have a really good color sense too. This for you is a little bit colorful, right? You've got the lighter background. I'm used to you having the darker backgrounds. You've got a lighter background pictured here, and you've got a very unusual color palette. A lot of the Celtic designs that we see, I think, are straight kind of like inspiration straight from the Book of Kells or one of the other medieval manuscripts, and very black dark background, the same kinds of colors. This is very different. This is more of a primitive palette, but the yellow, the gold, really bright, lot heavy with the spot dye, right? The yellow is quite prominent. It's really unusual. I like that brightness of the yellow and the changing qualities of the yellow with the flatness of the reddish russet color and the army green color. And of course, the white or ivory is a neutral color, which is a great stabilizer because all Celtic patterns are made up of quite a few different patterns, and they can easily become confusing to look at, wouldn't you say? This one is not. This is very measured. It's very well hooked, right? If you can imagine this particular piece, instead of the background being white, can you imagine this piece with the background being color changing or modeled? It would, even if it was one color, for example, if it was the yellow mustard color in place of the white, you can imagine that that would quickly become confusing, particularly in the center where there's that filigree sort of fretwork, right? The three shapes in the center, right? We're seeing lots of threes, which is very Celtic because it's like a reference to the Holy Trinity. Or there's lots of references to three. I shouldn't say that they aren't all Christian, but there are lots of threes certainly in Celtic art, and this is just a great example of a well balanced, not a symmetrical in terms of twos, but a symmetrical in terms of threes. Beautiful composition. How do you get something that's based on the number three to be symmetrical? Has to be round, doesn't it? Has to be a triangle or it has to be round. There's no two ways about it. So this is actually a perfectly symmetrical piece, but because it is a triangular piece, it has to be done triangular or in the round. Super well done, Kathy. This is just a gorgeous, gorgeous piece. And this was the piece I was thinking of. This is a Cushing, so probably a Pearl McGowan chair pad. Now, having just made my way through, like, what was it, 100, 150 vintage patterns that went up for sale. And by the way, many of them are left over. Most of them are gone, but many are left over, and they're beauties. Some of the ones that are left over, I just have not heard back from the person, and I just have to move on with my life. So I think probably on Monday I will make a Facebook post or something like that and just say these are the ones that are left and do photographs because there's lots. Now, I have to admit, Kathy, everybody, there were quite a few Pearl McGowan seat pads in the vintage patterns. And when I look at them, I'm ashamed to say that I often think, ah, meh, But when I see the way that you did your chair pad, it makes me think I'm wrong. And I love to be wrong, right? I love to be wrong because this is so bright. It's so cheerful. It's fairly contemporary. It's playful. It's colorful. It's creative. I look at those chair pads and I tend to superimpose pictures of images in my mind of thousands of chair pads I've seen in antique stores that always have a brown or a black background and always have the flowers super realistic. And you think, yeah, it's very nice. It's very homemade. I appreciate it. I love it. It's a very dear item. At the same time, it does remind me of, Home Goods and TJ Maxx. Oh, Pam, it's great to see you. Pam, I meant to write you to see if you had anything for tonight because I didn't find anything from you and I was hoping I didn't miss something from you. But I'm very happy to see you. Welcome. Kathy, I love the colors you've done here. You're really going out on a limb with colors. You're doing a lot of different stuff lately. It's exciting. You've got for me, the great bling here is the color. Yeah, right, Olivia. The color is amazing. I love the color changing that you've got around the teardrops, right? That is so striking. That stands out right away for me because you look at it, it's very balanced, it's very symmetrical. Okay, Pam, I just wanted to be sure. I saw your chicken in the Facebook page. It is so painterly and it is so you. But I figured if you wanted me to do it on gallery night that you would have sent it. So we'll definitely hold it for the next gallery night and then be completely wowed because it's really coming along. This is a great reminder again that looking at those chair pads and those Pearl McGowan patterns, you do not have to do them in a graphic manner. You can do them in a realistic manner. You can do them in a graphic manner. This is much more of a graphic interpretation of a pattern, right? It has a little pinch of the Pen Dutch kind of Fractur feel, but it is a Cushing pattern. It's got to be a Pearl McGowan chair seat. It's just it's so exciting, right? To be reminded that you can look at some of these older patterns that seem like they don't have anything new to say, and you would be wrong if you were thinking that, just like I'm wrong, because they do have a lot to say. This is a classic example. So colorful, so pretty, so much color change. It's really exquisite. Really, really well done. Two very surprising patterns from you, and here another one from Kathy Lynch. Great hit or miss pattern. I just love stuff like this. And the hit or miss class is coming up. I'm teaching a hit or miss class when I come back from Cape Cod. It comes with, I think, 8 ounces of mixed noodles, mixed colors, darks, light, thin, thick, everything, in a pattern that is called Mizzy Mozzie, which is a little floral bouquet. We're going to do at least 5 different kinds of hit or miss. How can there be different kinds of hit or miss? Well, there are different kinds of hit or miss. There's tons. There's way more than 5. We're doing 5 that I think are quite different and are going to be a lot of fun to hook together. It's a great class for beginners. It's a great class for people who've been hooking forever, who think, I don't lean heavy enough into the hit or miss part of this craft because this is the historic backbone of the craft. This is the thrift part. This is where you stick your hand into the rag bag and you pull something out and you hook with it. And you hope that the overall look when you finish the piece is a hit rather than a miss. And it will be. It will be a hit. It always comes out great. Kathy, I can tell that what you've done with a hit or miss is calculated and careful because it's absolutely perfect. You see a great contrast and a great rhythm to the darks versus the lights. It's paced, right? It's not just haphazard. You can tell that Kathy has been careful about placement. And it's so striking. The background is so electric, colorful, so striking. Kathy says, I have so many leftovers. I haven't signed up yet, but I will soon. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's just fun thinking of the different ways to use it. And depending on how you use hit or miss, it completely affects and changes your rug, your project. So whether you're doing something that's very stylized, like this very simple silhouette pattern of stars, or you're doing something that's much more um, figural, right? More storytelling, a lot more lines. Doesn't matter. There's often a place for hit or miss. In the piece behind me, there's hit or miss in the sky, and there's hit or miss in the grass. Right? There's hit or miss in both. So it's not just like people use hit or miss in borders and in big background fields that need to be filled. People use hit or miss in lots of places. It becomes a question of balance and when is too much, right? What kind of patterns do you want to use within hit or miss? You've got a straight pattern going across. You've got a strong directional pull to this hit or miss. And it's coming out beautiful. But this kind of hit or miss does work best when you are a little bit thoughtful about your color choices. And yes, that does defy the idea of sticking your hand into the proverbial rag bag and pulling anything out. But if you are spending time on it, and even if you're using your leftovers and they don't have great value to you anymore, you know that the piece is going to be beautiful when it comes out. And you do, I think, want to be a little bit thoughtful about what you want to do color-wise. And Kathy, this is a great example of that. Janine, it's great to see you. Hit or miss is a great learning experience. And Janine, you do so much hit or miss stuff. You do like colors, like tonal hit or miss, where you'll do all greens. That's one of the big things we talked about on last Friday night show when Janine was with us. It was such an interesting conversation. I hope that you all saw it or that you'll return to that video, because Janine lives in an RV and travels a lot. She does not have room for like infinite amounts of bags and closets worth of stuff that you may or may not ever use. So Janine has she's doing a Janine. Evolved a very particular style using, all green, filling in an area all green, but all different colors of green. And it becomes a hit or miss fill. It's very exciting. It's very different. It's all you. It was very exciting to talk about that. Kathy, these are 3 stunning pieces. I absolutely love them. And we will have to wait for the BFW a little while longer. I can't wait to see it. Wendy Simon, you sent in your 2, you call them kid pieces. I hooked with plastic bags this spring. The colors and designs just called loudly for my attention. So the first is titled, I hope I didn't miss the second one. The first is titled, Wendy, that piece is cut off. Can you, oh, no, it's not. This is the title. I'm sorry, I was confused. The first is titled 5 times 5 equals 25. You can see I thought I made a mistake there. I get it, right? So these are taken, I think, from kids' drawings. Barbara, great. Oh, Barbara says, I haven't done a hit or miss yet. Maybe I thought you were going to be saying bye, but you're still there with us. Maybe you need an online class. It definitely, it's not just because it's me giving it. The reason I'm giving a hit or miss class is because I think it is helpful, and I think, including myself, we can all do more with hit or miss. I don't think we think of it as an option enough. It's like the technique that's warming the bench during the game, and once in a while people pull it out and you go, "Ooh, that was a smart decision, right? That was a smart use of it." But I don't think we think about it often enough as a possible technique, because I think a lot of people think about hit or miss and think chaos. It's going to be chaotic. I don't like chaotic pieces. Or people think about hit or miss and say, I don't like primitive pieces, and that's a primitive thing, right? I don't like it when my rugs look like antique rugs. Neither of those arguments against hit or miss are viable, because you could have the most extraordinary realistic piece and lean heavily into hit or miss with it. So there's so much to be said about it. There's so many experiments to be done with it. Wendy, when you hook with these plastic bags, I find it life-changing. I really do. And I'm loving the composition. I'm loving that you worked from kids' drawings. So it's so perfect too, because when you hook with plastic bags, I guess one of the things that because you've done this quite a bit, and it's just extraordinary. I am going to stretch this picture so we can see it better. You are limited to the colors that plastic bags come in. And that must be a little bit of a thing. However, I imagine that you are used to that, and you have learned to overcome, um, I don't want to say that challenge or that speed bump because it's not. You have overcome it. April says, these are so neat with plastic bags. Do the plastic bags rip easy when you're hooking? That's a great question. Wendy, can you remind us, if you don't mind, number one, if they rip while you're hooking, and number two, about how wide you cut the strips? Do you cut them with scissors? One of the effects that I love, right? This is exact, my heart starts beating so fast that it's dangerous. This is one of the effects that I love that mimics the earliest forms of rug hooking, right? When I think about early rug hooking and I think about people using different colors or moving to different colors because they ran out of a color, when I think about people using materials that start to have patterns and you get patterns popping up in weird places because you are going to use your materials, well, plastic bags, ironically, do the same trick. So in other words, when you're looking at, for example, the white plastic bag, you can see those concentrations of color. That's got to be text or logo on the plastic bag. It has to be, right? Because the bag is white in this case, and there are bits of colors. So we're maybe looking at black text, blue text, a little bit of whatever the store's logo is. Same with the red. I think most bags have some kind of text on them, even if it just says thank you. Even the Chinese restaurant, gives me one that says, I think, thank you, or come again, or see you soon, or something like that. Wendy says the bags do not tear. They are very strong. I cut with scissors about 3/4 to an inch wide. Wendy, thank you so much for that, because so many people want to try to do it and don't want to waste plastic bags, right? That's kind of awful. Using them this way is an ultimate version of thrift, isn't it? Really is so clever. I'm going to scroll a little bit this way. Great use of colors, lots of primaries. This is a great thrifty way to use plastic, right? Plastic is, Wendy, I think it's your joke, an heirloom, right? Because it's with us for so long, certainly all of our lifetimes. Working with a palette that you have X amount of blue bags. That's what you've got. You've become truly an expert at mixing colors, because I see around the number 2 for the 25, you switch to a slightly different color, but man, it reads as perfect. It adds so much to the composition in my mind when you do that. And I know it's probably because you're running out of a color, but it adds so much in my mind because it reminds me of that 19th century school of rug hooking, the earliest. And looking at a piece like this, it just makes me feel excited because I'm thinking of how you must feel when you have bags and you have bags of different colors, or you find bags and you're laying them out and you're cutting them and you've got your own color palette laid out, and it's very finite. It's X amount of each color, and you must have to be very thoughtful that your process is going to be very different than other people's, right? Because your process is going to involve a lot of consideration and time spent on how much green do I have for that green piece. And at this point what kind of fill one bag will make. And you probably look at your strips and go, I have this many more strips. I can translate that into space because you've done this quite a bit. But it's an extraordinary follow through for me. When I think about early rug hooking, I think about contemporary rug hooking, and then I think about what you're doing with plastic bags. It's just you've taken it so much further than anybody I can think of. I just think it's absolutely stunning. You're getting some comments. April said, thank you, Wendy. Kirsten said, I love the texture of the plastic. I also love the texture. It adds something, right? It's a bit gravelly. It reminds me of like a lot of 1970s kinds of textured lamps, the texture is very like all of those pottery vases, right, that have a sandy texture. You know what I mean? Very granular. It's very exciting and different. From a distance, you don't see the texture. It's only when we look closer up. Linda H says, do you order the bags of different colors? And Barbara says, I would have been separating the plain sides to use. The text in the hooking makes it look like confetti. It looks like confetti dyed wool. Absolutely it does. Awesome work, Wendy. Yeah, it really. You're getting a lot of questions about technique because it is so exciting. And Wendy's so generous because you have really spent some time figuring out this specific technique. But it's so good for all of us to be able to know what to do because we do have a lot of plastic sitting around and it is awful, isn't it? And it's great to be able to use it like this. This is our thumbnail. This, Wendy, this is the other one, but either I cut it off or I messed something up. But I don't know if you gave me a title for this. Wendy says, I have lots of bags, none have lots of bags, none ordered. Okay, because you can order them, as we know, we've said before, on Amazon, but you actually just collect the bags. I think that's great. That's like a crazy scavenger hunt too, isn't it? And then it makes it all the more precious and exciting when you find a bag of a certain color. I mean, isn't it crazy and wonderful this world we live in that we all understand that sentence that it's so exciting when you find a bag of a certain color because we all know that feeling when you're looking for something to hook or it reminds you of a certain composition or something that you mean to do. It's so people don't understand who don't do this particular craft or like craft. People don't understand how exciting it is when your supplies start falling into place. Obviously, this is not something that you would dye. You have to find the bags. Boy, that leaf is exciting, isn't it? That weird purple leaf is very exciting. Um, I'm just catching up on the comments. Pam says, I love all the colors you find with the plastic bags. Kirsten says, is that this one is plastic? Yes, Kirsten, it is fantastic. Wendy said, this one is called Lizard. Taken from a kid's drawing. I bet the child just called this composition Lizard. It's so cute. It's so good too. It's so good. It looks like the wizard, the wizard, is wearing a little checkered jersey of some sort. It's so cute. A little spotted behind. It's actually an amazing composition. It's a very smart composition. The balance with that big leaf behind Lizard's face really creates a nice flat area that you can really look at the Lizard's face without there being lots of choppy stuff behind it. Makes a very strong composition. The whole composition is incredibly strong. The diagonals of the stems, right, like on top into the bottom right, versus that sort of red balance beam through the middle, very, very smart. The child who made this is obviously quite an artist. This is really smart composition. This is as good as folk art gets. April said, this is so adorable, Wendy. I love it so much. Great colors and texture. Leah says, love how the plastic is repurposed. Me too. That's just a great added thing, isn't it? That it's like not at the dump or not whatever, stuck around a sea turtle's throat. It's actually being used for art on the wall. It doesn't get any better than this. Olivia says, great way to recycle. Judy says, do friends bring you bags? You have such a great variety. That's a great question because it must be hard to collect this many great colors. Janine says, I love this one. Perfect colors for it, Wendy. Do you ever mix plastic bags with other materials? That's a great question. Wendy said, have never mixed plastic with other fibers. And Kathy says, I need to start shopping at stores based on the color of their bags. You know, it's true. It's true. And that's when we spiral off into madness. Like, no, for real, because I was thinking the same thing and I will do the same thing. You know, and it's a great rabbit hole to go down because why shouldn't we have a bunch of plastic bags? It's better in our hands and up on the wall as art, isn't it? It's just so exciting. It's so exciting. Pim says, Kathy, more shopping fun. That's right. So beautiful, Wendy. These are so beautiful. Lizard and 5 times 5 equals 25. Let me stretch this one out a little bit while we're still here. I just want to look at it closer up. I know you do too. The background with the brown bags. Now, wouldn't you think when you get a brown bag and you're thinking, oh, maybe I'll rug hook this with this, wouldn't you think when you get the brown or like the grayish purple bag, like, wah, wah. But that's actually not true. You really need these colors. You have more than one brown in there. And gosh, you must have some great variety around there. It makes you want to pop out to a lot of different stores, like Kathy said, and start checking out what kind of bags they've got going. Wendy says yellow is from the dollar store, brown is from the Home Depot. Oh, of course it is. Green from produce department at the grocery store. Oh, of course it is those little skinny bags that never rip off when you're holding a bushel of bananas and you only have one hand to rip it with, right? It's like toilet paper. It just keeps going and going and going. I know the green bags you mean. That's a great start. Love Lizard, Linda H says. Olivia says, how would you bind this? Wendy, would you bind it the same way, or are you going to do no binding and put it over stretchers or something like this? That's a great question, Olivia. I never thought of that. I wonder too, Wendy, how you've been binding them. Really nice. Wendy says the writing on the bags definitely adds texture. Definitely does. Kathy says the background looks like textured wool. It's beautiful. It really is so beautiful. Even the dit dots on the lizard's body that are yellow, you can see there's little flecks of text or something in there. It adds such mystery and depth, right? There's so much added storytelling to this. Wendy says, I whip the edges same as rugs. Okay, so that part stays the same. Nice and durable too, isn't it, right? And then Wendy, you would whip them with wool or yarn or something like that. Really exciting. Janine says, do you whip with, okay, Janine's thinking the same thing. Do you whip with plastic bags? These are all great questions because I'm thinking if you whip with plastic bags, that's a lot of plastic bags, isn't it? I mean, we're already talking about a lot of plastic bags. It's a lot more plastic bags. This is really exciting. This is really exciting. Um, I'm going to ask a question that I'm sure is not an appropriate question to ask, but it's got me thinking. Wendy, do you ever see bags like in the trash? Because I have to say, I'm not above taking things out of the trash when I see things in the wrong. The phone is ringing. When I see things in the wrong trash thing, I often take them out and move them. And I know that's gross. I touch trash and I don't know where it's been. But I mean, I would not be above if I see something in a trash can sticking out. If it doesn't have, baby's diaper inside of it, and it's dry, I would be tempted. I would be tempted to gather as many as I could, just like cans, like soda cans or stuff like that. Um, oh, Wendy does whip with plastic bags. You are a purist. So you are whipping with plastic bags. Valerie says, cheers, bags. Gives a whole new meaning to being a bag lady and a hooker. That's right. That's right. Olivia, you would never know that they were hooked with plastic. You really wouldn't. You really wouldn't. And there, obviously for us, there's nothing wrong with hooking with plastic, but it is a curious thing because you would expect, I'm going to make it smaller again so we can look from a distance. I don't think you would expect if you knew if someone said to you and you'd never seen this before, I'm going to hook with a bunch of plastic shopping bags. My immediate response would be like, the loops are probably they won't what Kirsten calls bloom. They won't come up all lofty and lovely. They're probably going to come up all wizened and pinched, and it might look um, a bit jarring. But I would be wrong. Again, I'd love to be wrong. The loops come up great. It's a different texture than rug hooking. It's exciting. There's a lot more depth. The nature of the bag makes the shadows in between each loop much more severe, and that is exciting. That's what gives it that really granule, sort of gravelly texture. Pam says, I share my plastic bags with my sister-in-law in Jersey. They no longer get plastic bags. Oh man, that is a hardship. Wendy says, I laugh when I see colored bags along the road. And you pick them up. You're the right person to find them. Wendy says, if they're going on the wall, I could probably, I would probably just mount them on foam core. Ooh, or some such. That's a good idea too. You could absolutely do that, Judy. That would work great. That would absolutely work great. They're also so lightweight, right? I mean, it must be like a feather carrying this thing. This is just exciting. Um, J. Sam's plastic bags are mostly banned here in Canada, except for ones we buy for garbage. Yeah. Oh, that is a thing, isn't it? Yeah, that is happening more and more. I think that will continue to be the case. Um, Valerie says, I hope I didn't miss an earlier answer to this, but how do you cut the worms? Valerie, she cuts them about 1 to 3 quarters to I'm sorry. Let me come back because I'm screwing up. She's cutting them with scissors, 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch, and just using as much as possible. Olivia says we pay 50 cents per plastic bag, so you'll learn to keep your bags in the boot of the car and ready to take out and reuse. This is going to be a funny ongoing conversation because now that we've seen what hooking with plastic bags looks like, I would hate to lose this form in rug hooking because it is really, um, it's just an extraordinary moment, right? But I don't want it to be a moment. I hope it lasts forever. But the precarious and very real situation is that less and less plastic bags are available. It might be that we are looking at a material that will be hard/impossible to get in the future. And like Jay Sam says, already in Canada, pretty impossible to get. So there is also something really beautiful in the scarcity and the temporary nature of being able to do this craft with the plastic bags. It's a make hay when the sun shines kind of a deal, I think, for those of us who still have plastic bags around and you're interested in this at all. I'd say you've got to start hoarding them now, right, within reason, because it might not have longevity, this particular technique, because of the emphasis on not using plastic. Um, yeah, that's a very real part of the conversation too. Kirsten says, "Do you hook with clear plastic like sandwich bags?" That's a great question. Sometimes sandwich bags are colored too. I've seen that in the kids' lunches. Wendy says, "I've used bread bags." Okay, interesting. Um, Bread bags make sense. I remember there was an artist in the 70s. What was her name? What was her name? Come on. Um, oh, it'll come to me. You know what time it'll come to me too. Um, Dang it! I have so many of her books. She's passed now, but um, gosh, she wrote a lot of books on rug making. It'll come to me eventually. I feel like it's Mary something, maybe with a C. Um, anyway, in her book, and in my first book, the Easy Rag Rugs book, um, I quoted her in that book because she hooked with Wonder Bread bags, right? That had, I don't know if they still do, but they had the clear, the white, the blue, the red, and the yellow. So that makes a lot of sense hooking with bread bags because they're also like stretchy. Wendy, do you find that some of the plastic bags you use, I think of dollar store bags as not stretchy at all, where I think of bread bags as quite stretchy. Does that affect the way that you hook or the way that you cut your strips? Judy says plastic grocery bags are banned in Connecticut as well. They are. You still do see them at all the little stores, so they are still kicking around, but not at the grocery store. You're right. Um, I missed something. Dawn said, "What about the colored Tyvek or TVEC shipping envelopes?" Interesting. Yeah, like the poly envelopes. That's an interesting question. But Judy said it's too heavy. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. This is amazing. J. Sam says plastic bags may become a collector's item. Totally. I mean, on eBay, one of the big money areas of collecting is unused packages of baby diapers. I'm not kidding. Like from the 70s. I don't know. Is that nostalgia? For me, that's not nostalgic. I don't remember getting my diaper changed and looking at the logo on the packaging. But some people collect everything. I think you're right. I think it's gonna be a collector's item. Pamela says this is similar to the rug hooking that used to be done with lady stockings, although you've revived that. That was what was that called? So that's Grenfell. So when you're stocking, that was the genesis of hooking with stockings is Grenfell hooking, and I think we would still call it that because that's where it started. Karen says I feel so guilty now getting rid of a big bunch of plastic bags recently. Well, Karen, you didn't know, right? This happens to everybody, and you can't keep everything, but now you know. Um, all right, I'm going to move on. But this is an interesting conversation. Judy says newspaper delivery bags are often blue. Judy, you're right. Ours is bright yellow, like sunflower yellow. So that's interesting. Maybe it always irritates me to see it there. Maybe I'll grab it and start saving them until I have enough to do something. That's really interesting. J. Sam's hadn't thought of bread and veggies bags. Just took mine out of the recycle bin so I could try this. That's fantastic. Dave says, Pam, great minds think alike. This is a great conversation. We've been here for a while, and I'm going to move on. This is a great conversation, Wendy. Thank you so much. I always think about your hooking. I think about your other hooking too, like the wooden, the rings and the wood and all of the stuff that you've done. That you're just an extraordinary artist. You've done this hooking with plastic bags so well. It has been such a huge inspiration, and it's so interesting, as you can tell, to other people. I'm so happy that you share this and that you always tell us how to do it because, like I said, nobody wants to waste plastic bags and end up throwing them in the trash after all because you cut them wrong. So thank you so much for sharing everything you know. Wendy says newspaper delivery bags are the perfect weight. They are very thin, aren't they? I wonder if you know what else you sometimes see, Olivia. Uh, when you go to the city, like New York, Boston, maybe whatever your city is, and you run into these situations where you know you're going to be there until super late at night and it starts raining and you don't have a hood or an umbrella, and you get sucked into that thing of buying a plastic poncho because it's cheaper than buying like a $40 umbrella from a stand on the corner that's going to break in 5 minutes anyway. I've bought some of those ponchos for the kids. I think I've worn those ponchos myself, and they usually come in lots of colors. I bet that's a very similar weight to the kind of plastic bag you get with the newspaper thrown into the driveway. Um, so maybe that would work too. I'm just thinking, I wish I was thinking about that, because when we were in New York right before Christmas for Teddy's birthday, that was a poncho day for us. We saved our ponchos, but not everybody did. And there are ponchos like in a lot of the trash cans sticking out. Now, if that happens to me again, I'm going to pull them out of the trash and I'm going to save them and use them. So this is a great conversation, if only because we will start this weird recycling regime that people will be like, what's going on here? And then they'll figure it out when this stuff becomes a bit more visible. All these great rugs. Valerie says we use them for cat litter. Much less romantic. Um, and Kathy Lynch says our newspaper bags are orange. Oh, that's exciting. Oh, that's very exciting. Judy, I can imagine you all dumpster diving at the stores that do accept plastic bags for recycling. It's not a bad idea. I'm going to end on another really gross sentiment, but sometimes when I need boxes, I go to the parking lot in the town that's like full of all these horrible stores and some miserable concentration of all this yucky stuff. But tons of stores all close together. And it gives me the heebie jeebies, but it's practical. They all share out back, right? Not where the regular parking lot is, but out back, there's probably, I would say, 8 to 10 dumpsters. And they're covered, right? They have like sliding doors. A couple of them are like this, but they're still covered. I often go there to get boxes, and I half climb in. And yeah, it's a dumpster, but at the end of the day, like unless it's a restaurant, stores are not throwing out like food and baby diapers, right? They're throwing out like boxes and like cardboard. So, you open them and it's like, okay, well, there's a bunch of stuff in here. It's all dry. It's all usable. I often find boxes that way. And I bet I could find plastic bags and stuff that way too. Like if I'm there, I'm thinking about the dumpster outside the nail salon store. They've got a bunch of cardboard boxes that had like nail polish in them. That stuff isn't gross. It doesn't smell, and they use bags too. So that would be like a great dumpster. I can't believe I'm saying this. That would be a great dumpster for me to investigate. You see what I mean, though? Um, Judy says you came home with rug supplies you didn't even know about, Olivia. That's right. If you brought, because it was raining for you, if you brought your poncho back, you got more rug supplies than you thought. Olivia says, oh my God, Top View Tours was giving us ponchos every trip. I saved them all. Okay, there you go. Oh, that's exciting. I'm so glad I sent that. And okay, I think I'm caught up. That was exciting. My heart is still beating a little bit fast. I love these conversations where we all dig in. It's so 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 useful. Wendy, thank you so much. Kaz, you sent a beautiful piece that I don't think I used in the last gallery night. I used the pouch that you made in the last gallery night, but I missed this piece. Kaz, you wrote, hi, Deanna, good morning from Tokyo. You were still traveling in Tokyo, so this was sent a while back. You said, I have bad jet lag and have been up since 3 a.m. It was the perfect time to watch the recording of Coffee Time. I love thinking about you watching Coffee Time in Tokyo. That's really fun. And I just remembered I'd finished this piece before I left Japan. This pattern is by Laura Berlage of Hayward, Wisconsin. She is one of Amy Oxford's students and just got her certification in January. I have taken her Zoom punching rug and tapestry weaving classes. This piece was inspired by Amy's new book and the previous classes I took from Laura. I used mostly size 14 needle, but for the green lines of the field and barn roof, I used a size 13. I used the stem stitch for the outside of the sunbeams where they border the blue sky. I know you, Deanna, use the stem stitch when you do miniature punch by facing the needle hole to the right or left hand side. I do. I do that stitch by, how when you're doing any kind of punching, whether it's traditional or miniature, you're supposed to kind of have the tip away from you like a calligraphy pen and be dragging it, the tip away from you. I almost always turn my tip. And the reason I do it isn't to get the fancy stitch, although that's a nice benefit. It's to be able to see the tip going into the backing, right? So I know exactly where I'm pointed and where I'm going. But you're right, Kaz. That was a really astute observation. I do almost always do that. Um, And you said, I use glittery metallic thread combined with regular yarn for the body of the rooster. I used feather novelty yarn for the tail. Ooh, I'm going to stretch it open a little bit too. Although I was very careful not to steam those areas. Very good. Because you would have mushed them right down, like permanently, right? You would have mushed them right down, taken all of that great glow out of those eyelash and those flag yarns, right? By just steaming around the edges, but steaming around the areas. That's it. You sort of localize or centralize where you keep the iron when you do your blocking, right? Make sure it doesn't hit areas that have novelty yarn and novelty fibers because you'll press them and they might not come back to life. You might kill them, right? They might just stay down. So very good reminder, Kaz. The feather yarn got a bit flattened. I'm very happy with how this piece turned out. Thank you again for the Patreon rose patterns. They are wonderful. Have a great night. Oh, you're so welcome, Kaz. Let's look at this. I want to unlock this a little bit. Oh, Dawn, it is beautiful, isn't it? So this is on monk's cloth. Let's look at it a little bit closer up because I can see you were doing lots of different stitching and directions with punch. I never think of punch as being a good tool for doing directional hooking, but Kaz, you proved me wrong. I see a lot of directional hooking here, right? Very, very, very well done. It's very well done. I'm just scrolling around. You can see where the different fibers are present. She described the different fibers that you used. I love the color mix on the barn. That's a very, very neat fiber. I love how the rooster's little orange beak, I guess you say beak, right? Kind of mimics the beginning of the sun. It's almost like he's singing the song of the sun. Very cool movement. It's a very high energy piece. Great colors, great movement. I love the color for the border too. Kathy says the sun is awesome. It really is. It's a really cheerful piece. Really well done. Kaz, it's just beautiful. Shape of the barn, beautiful too. It's just beautiful. I just love it. And really well executed as well. All right, let me move to Michelle. Oh, Michelle, you sent us the next piece you were working on. Hold on, let me get this is a work in progress. Hold on just a second. I'm just going to take a sip. Kirsten said of Kaz's piece, the sun is the protagonist in the piece. It really was. Let me come back here for a second and let's look one more time because I think that's an important remark. I'm going to make it small again. I think that's an important remark because when we talk about composition, which we often do, and when we talk here about, looking at different compositions together, we often say to ourselves, what is the main character? What is the main motif, right? It doesn't have to be a person, doesn't have to be an animal. Kirsten's right. The main character in this piece is the sun. It's really striking. It's no matter how you did the sun, right? It is a big element to the design here. All of those strong diagonals, it's really compelling. And it is important to say to yourself in terms of composition, it is important to say to yourself, who is the main character, right? And in this case, it is the sun. If you think about it, right, if you go to the theater and you can't tell who the main character is, that's confusing. Has that ever happened for you before? I know that's happened for me, even on big stages like the West End and Broadway. Sometimes I sit down at a play that I don't know and I start watching it. And the first thing my brain wants to know is who are the main characters? Because I know subconsciously or without even thinking about it, I'm going to want to be paying the most attention to those characters because their storyline is the most important if I want to follow the thing. I want to know who they are and I want to pay the most attention to them. I always look at everybody, right? Because I have a theater degree and I know how that all works and how that all feels. So I look at everybody and I try to pay attention to what everybody's doing and notice little special things that everybody does because everybody obviously up there is important. But I do want to know pretty quickly who the main characters are because that's the first thing that's going to give me, going to give the performance a shape. It's the same thing with composition, right? Theater and composition works the same way. What am I looking at? What am I looking at, right? If you don't know what you're looking at, things are not going well. So it is great to look at a piece like this and say, the rooster is a part of it, the barn is a part of it, the beautiful tracts of land are a part of it, but really the sun is the main player. That's a great comment, Kirsten, because it just reminds us about composition. And that's something we all do. Even if you execute commercial patterns, you're still thinking about composition. Judy says, considering all the things that you all have been using for hooking, I find it interesting that you refer to specialty fibers. Sounds like they are all specialty to me. That's interesting because Judy does needlework. You're more of a needle. You're a needle woman. So the thing about rug hooking, and this is a great point, Judy. Um, in the 20th century, right, that period of time where I feel like rug hooking was hijacked and put along a certain track, and it got very, very, very far away from the original first hookers, the first examples of hooked rugs that were made with many different materials because they were made from scraps. We got very far away from that in the 20th century. And it was in the 20th century that more and more people were sort of programmed or taught, I don't mean to make it sound patronizing, but taught to use milled wool and nothing but milled wool. Do you have milled wool and nothing but milled wool, so help you God? And you would want the milled wool. Well, it is a recent trend again, not for everybody, right? Not for the Canadians, not for the Brits, not for the Australians, right? But in the US, it is a fairly new phenomenon that we are again looking at materials that are not traditional materials, and that's just cut up milled wool in yarn. But we are again looking at fibers that are not traditional. Anything that's not traditional is at the moment being referred to as a fancy fiber. I think also because of the packaging of these wools, like even the very expensive, not wools, yarns, even the very expensive yarns, like when I go to the knitting store and when you see my Magpie piece, the fairy houses, what did I call the fairy houses? Wait a minute. Pixie Hollow Condominium Association LLC. That's the name of the huge piece I did with all the different fairy houses, and it's about 120 to 150 mixed fibers in there besides wool. I got most of those from a knitting store, and it's a knitting store that sells partial skeins, leftover skeins, or maybe one or two skeins that nobody wants to buy for knitting because it's not enough to even do a scarf or like one mitten. So luckily, they have a huge section with all of the sort of extra bits and pieces. And I go in there and pig out, and I buy tons of it. And it's not cheap, right? It's still expensive, but a lot of the fibers are on a par with the same fibers you find at the dollar store, Ocean State Job Lot, one of those that are literally $1 a skein. And those are always called fancy fibers, whether you're at Job Lot or you're at a fancy store. It will typically say fancy fiber somewhere on the label. Because also, I don't think knitters can justify doing whole pieces unless it's an accessory like a scarf. Knitters don't usually use one of these really oddball fibers with like the flags or the eyelash sticking up or one of these high texture mohair spins or two plies that are like a mutant of two different things. Knitters don't really use them either for large pieces. So they kind of sit on the periphery. They're great for supplies, but I feel they're the best for rug hookers. I really do. I was super happy as soon as I started using those kinds of fibers, and I still love my wool, but I now prefer hooking with fancy fibers. Michelle, you sent a beautiful piece here, the three dancing rabbits. I recognize this piece. I forget whose pattern this is, but this is an iconic piece. You wrote, "You are precious." That's very kind of you. Because I wrote back to Michelle, do you remember the piece in the last gallery night that looked like sort of a crazy quilt? It was in patches, and it was what did she call her grandma? Um, 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 Not Mimi. Come on, I remembered earlier. Mima, right? It's like a mix of. Do you remember her piece? It was a mix of memories. For Mima, I think I have this right. I might have this wrong, Michelle, but my heart is in the right place. And it was like there was death in the family, and there wasn't a funeral, and you were thrown by that because you wanted that event for closure, for celebration, for memorial, and you did that piece as a result. So that was like an extraordinary contribution to the last gallery night. So I wrote to Michelle and said how much I love her, how much I love the piece, and as a result, Michelle wrote, "You are precious." That's very kind of you. I'm working on adding a black border from. So this is, I think, on Mima's piece from Joseph's unspun fleece from the last clip. So Joseph, I'm guessing, is a sheep. That's the only thing that makes sense, right? They will be sheared again on Monday. Oh, exciting! Um, I'm just reading her email really quick. So this is the piece that she's working on at this moment. I'm not sure if the border from Joseph is going on this piece or Mima's piece. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous piece, and Michelle's got both the punch and the hook out. So maybe working with both, which is one of my favorite things. I just love this rabbit pattern. We see it from time to time. Um, it's absolutely stunning. I love the Van Gogh sky in the background, right? I mean, it's got such feel. It's got so much dance to it, right? It looks like the rabbits are dancing. Sometimes you see the rabbits and they look like they're like just a silhouette and pretty static. In this case, it's very, very active. It's a very active composition. It's very lively, colorful. I love the profusion of color. I love the exciting sky. It's a very Van Gogh sky. I can see she's working in some yarn on the top right. I'm loving that little sort of organza type bow, right? How perfect and cute is that? Michelle, you have such good instincts about working, right? You have such good instincts about color, what to put where. You put so much of your personality into every piece. That's such a big deal. I absolutely love it. I just love it. It's a home run, and I can't wait to hear more about Joseph and the sharing of the next of the sheep and all of the beautiful yarn that's going to come out of that. Now, Sally Gilbert sent this. There's two pieces that Sally sent because Sally took hold on, I think I lost. Yep. Sally took the Design Like Fractur class with me. I think that was a month or two ago. And Sally said, "Hi, Deanna." So the Fractur class was like Design Like a Penn Dutch Fractur artist, right? So that school of like sort of late 18th century, early 19th century Penn Dutch design. Really, really super fun class. I really enjoyed it. But Sally wrote and said, I had an old box. I had the old box, but a friend in Lancaster drew the figure on the top. And this is just exquisite. So this is, I think, a painted figure on maybe a hat box or a cheese box, but definitely in this Penn Dutch style. So beautiful. So much Fractur art. All of the original Fractur art is copyright free at this point, which is so exciting for us to be able to use. Smoking from, I don't know if this is a corncob pipe, has a very long stem on it. I don't know how that affects actual smoking. That's a very curious pipe, isn't it? Very simple designs, really lovely. This was, I thought, a stunning example of Fractur work. And then this pretty piece, it's a bench seat, was drawn and hooked by Sally herself. And she says, I used dinner plates as a template, and then I drew designs based on some of the Pennsylvania Dutch hex signs I saw. Wow. So, oh, Olivia, you're boarding. Travel safely. Stay alert and travel safely until you fall asleep, at least. Stay alert while you get on the plane, right? I always check everybody out because there's so many, weird people sometimes. Have a safe trip. Let us know when you arrive safely, okay? Oh, Wendy said, I recently told a new hooker that if you can pull it through the linen, you can hook with anything. Don't limit yourself. That's perfect, Wendy. That's just the perfect sentiment, and it's so true. This is such a great piece, isn't it? I'm seeing over on the right-hand side it's signed. But this is a beautiful piece in the style of Penn Dutch. I love that Sally took plates out and drew the three motifs, right? So this is a pretty balanced composition. We've got two very busy hexes on the two sides, and then the bird motif in the center, right? So it has great balance. I love that these are actual hex patterns, right? Because there's so many hex patterns out there, and they all represent something. They all mean something. And as soon as you know what they mean, it becomes really interesting to use them, doesn't it? So beautiful bench cover. I just love this. I love the three petaled tulips. That was a big thing that we talked about in class too. Now that is a reference to the Holy Trinity. The three petaled tulips absolutely is. Not always, of course, because not everybody who settled in Penn Dutch country was of the same religion and not everybody was Christian, so we weren't all using the same symbols. But originally, certainly the tulip is one of the Christian symbols, and a lot of people used it in Penn Dutch art. It's just beautiful. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to function in that way. But the three petal tulip is obviously very different than any other form of a stylized tulip. So I thought that was really interesting. And Sally, super, super well done. Gorgeous bench, Pamela says. I do like the Trinity tulips. I do too. It's so specific. It's so specific. I love the hexes as well. It's just gorgeous work, Sally. Linda Schultes Hoffman, you are blowing me away. You have been blowing me away for a while. You continue to blow me away. Hold on one second while I sip. You sent a bunch of new pieces that you work so quickly. There's a few people out there who work so quickly. It blows my mind. It just inspires me so much. I wish I work very quickly too, but I have so much other stuff to do that I sometimes don't get to work as often as I want. And it really does make me feel like weirdly happy and like I'm living vicariously when I see so much good work happening all the time. It makes me feel calm in a weird way because I can't do as much as I would like to do at this moment. It is so fun, right, Kirsten? So if you remember, Linda Schultes Hoffman was doing this series of like the skulls, like the really colorful Day of the Dead type skulls. Loved those, still love those. In the last cocktail time, I think it was more like the cityscapes. There's one at the end of this, so I'll show you those. And Linda, you also do all kinds of other characters, and you work in such a folky style. It's just incredible. So, hi Deanna, happy spring, everyone. Here's my latest work. The crocodile is 27 by 17 yarn and a green print dress. Fantastic. It's just fantastic. So the color might be a little bit off. It's a green dress with yarn in the background. So if that's green and I'm looking at blue, it might be that the background is a little more yellow. Hard to tell. It's just gorgeous. It's just gorgeous. What I love about this piece, it's folky quality. I love the placement of the piece, right? I love how he just fits in there, and he's a little top heavy. I love the story of the mouth being open and the eye being a little bit crazy, right? It seems harmless and benign. He's a bit of a fat crocodile and a skinny one, and he looks almost like he's dancing or playing. But there is something funny about the way that the mouth is just gaping open, right? Just ready to snap at anything. It also looks like he's talking a little bit of a white underbelly. I think that helps a lot too. I love the darker arms. You've done the arms and feet really, really well because it is a very folky piece and it is very shape driven, but yet you've done that part that could go completely wrong, right? The little feet with the little nails. You've done that really well. You've done the teeth really well. You've done like the scales. I don't know if they're called scales on crocodiles, but you've done all the small bits very, very well. I like your big fills in the background too. I love that you ran out of a color and moved to a different color. You really stick with the tradition of rug hooking. And you don't have to. Nobody has to. This is a style you love. This is very natural for you. You do it really well, and you keep developing within this specific genre. And I think that's exciting. It's an inspiration. It really is because you're doing very primitive work, but you're doing it in really electric colors. And that is the definition of folk art, isn't it? You're doing a style that you work within a style that is known, but you're doing something within the style using all the tools of the style. Folk art does come part and parcel with lots of bright colors, but we don't always see bright colors in folk art rugs. So this is just a departure, right, from what we're expecting. It's an amazing piece, and I love that you cut up the green dress because it made a beautiful crocodile. Now here's our buddy who has been behind me, keeping me company in this episode. The cat is 22 by 25. It is yarn and t-shirt material. Another beautiful piece and another great example of hit or miss fills. Really, really smart. One of the things I love that you do, Linda, is you outline in unexpected colors. You don't outline dark or light, right? You outline in changing colors. And it really does add something to the way that the piece feels. It gives it a slight disconnect. It gives it a bit of a magical lift. It's very, very different. The expression on the cat, that eyebrow in the middle, right, that kind of is pursed together a little bit, it's so good. It's so good. It really is it's absolutely stunning. The crazy eyes, the blue lips, right, that kind of triangle nose, it's really stunning. It's a beautiful piece. The top and bottom, right, the sky and ground are very hit or miss in the most spectacular way. You've been thoughtful about the hit or miss. The sky is going horizontal for the most part, right, so flecks of light. But the grass is growing more vertical, right? You're thinking of it in terms of grass. It's still hit or miss, but you're hooking it in a different direction. It really helps give energy to this piece because this is a fairly simple composition, one motif. There's no question about who the star of this is. It's one motif, but you manage to keep it lively and exciting with so much patterning. Two hit or miss patterns, and then within the cat, you've done a real Matisse. You've broken it up into shapes, a little bit Matisse, a little bit Eric Carle, right? Shapes within shapes. It makes so much sense. It reminds me a little bit of a Mexican mola, but it reminds me more of Matisse. I love the flat shapes of color, not the same shapes, because if they are the same shapes, then we call it a pattern. It's not a pattern, isn't it? It's more of a scatter. It's a little bit of everything. You've kept that little chest, right? The little chest, a triangle of color in a slightly different color. So you've only patterned the parts that would have been solid on the cat, and then a little bit of a zigzag stripey in the tail. It just looks fantastic. It's just a great reminder of how you can take a simple composition and break it up. Pam just made a great comment. I like that you outlined the cat, very Alphonse Mucha. Great comment, Pam, because also the whole thing is Alphonse Mucha, if you think about it. Missing one key element. All Mucha did, and I don't want to diminish what Mucha did because Mucha is amazing, patterning, right? Patterning upon patterning upon patterning. And I'm going to say, now that I'm looking at the face, I was going to say the face is a little different handling. It's really not. It's still Mucha, right? Because he didn't do a lot of realism in the faces either. That's more of a Klimt thing, to have a realistic face and then pattern everything else out. Little bit of Klimt here too, right? I mean, when you think about it, a bit of a realistic face. It is folky, right? But it is figural. And then you pattern out all of the other elements. That's very Klimt too, right? All of these devices, right? There is nothing new under the sun. Gail, good morning in Australia, my love. Happy coffee time for you. It's such a cool piece. It's such an interesting piece. I just love to see what you do. This is a departure. This is a busier piece. But Linda, you do simple motifs in such an extraordinary way. I'm just always curious. For a simple composition like a cat, we spent quite a bit of time there talking about it. We could talk about it for a whole episode, I have no doubt. So that's the sign of a great piece of art, right? Just making sure. I just took my sweatpants off because it is so hot in here. Just making sure that that's not a camera. It's not. I should have checked in a different way before going live. We're good. We're good. Now this is a much more busy composition, Linda, for you. This is a real departure. So exciting. Another super friendly, fun, naturalistic, bit of a cartoony feel. I just love this composition. I love this composition. Frog pond, one frog jumping, one frog confronting us, right? Looking at us, two of them looking at us, right? Not confrontational in a nasty way, just making eye contact, very welcoming. Come into the frame of the picture. Here we are. One of them is a little more shy, hiding out underwater. One of them is chasing after something, jumping through the air. Again, you did a great job with the little fingers and toes, right? Because that is tricky. What I love about this piece, I love the composition. I love that you felt like you could make a nice rounded pond, right? Not just a strip of water. You did an irregular shape in the rounded pond. I love that you felt that you could put very irregular flowers in the border without making the border a separate color. That is the prestige of this piece. Think about it. How often do you see a border that's done with a repeat of flowers that isn't in a separate border, that isn't cordoned off, right? Isn't that interesting to think about? Because it's hardly ever. This is more of a Victorian postcard composition. You know what I mean? How postcards way back when, Victorian era, early 20th century, you'd often get flowers around the border, but they weren't separated into a black border or white border with flowers like a medieval, like the Book of Kells, right? Like a medieval illumination. No, part of the composition, right? And you were fully prepared for the idea that the color would change in the border. At the top, there's a little bit of green behind with the leaves, but a blue sky. At the bottom, you've got more green under the pond. You darkened up the pond on the bottom. That was smart. That was, oh God, this is so good. The cattails, the dragonfly, the amount of hit or miss in the sky is crazy. I'm going to stretch it open a little bit. It's so good. Let's look a little bit closer up together. I mean, look at the amount of color. Oh, you know what? I didn't need to do that because I just remembered what the next one was. Da, da, da. And the color is a little bit better on the slide too, which is even better. Right, so this is, this is just incredible. Linda, God, I just love this. I just love it. It's exciting, isn't it? It's a great storytelling piece. I love the expressions. I love the story. I love the fun and the frolic. It's a good romp. It's a good wander around. There are so many colors in this piece. Judy says unbounded borders are traditionally used on cross stitch samplers. That's a great thought too, Judy. Thank you. We can picture that, right? Now that Judy said that, we can picture that. It's really rug hooking and some needlepoint, right? Some needlepoint too, where we think about, well, now that I think about it, less needlepoint than rug hooking. I think when we think about the catalog of rug hooking patterns through the years, right? It's the 20th century again. We hit a time in the 20th century when everybody was thinking about making the kind of rug that mimicked, for example, an Oriental or an Eastern style rug. And since that's the case, the style was to have borders, not one, but many. That gave us borders, and we kept borders for a long time. Another sort of reference point is the tapestry, right? A lot of patterns come from early tapestries, some of the early commercial patterns, and many of those have borders, right? Because tapestries would have borders, right? It would be like a fiber, huge piece of fiber art with a frame, but the frame was also fiber. So I think depending on where we land on the rug hooking timeline, on the whole chronology of the pattern design and what's been popular when, we have been very border heavily in contrast to other crafts. And I don't think that's necessarily a good thing at all. Judy, you're absolutely right. And I think that's one of the things that I really love about samplers and a lot of needlework is that there's something so much more of kind of a sketchbook quality when you see patterning going right out to the edges. It's not quite so formal. Do you know what I mean? At least we all feel differently when we look at art. But I feel like when I look at a piece like this and the border is not portioned out, right? It's just color moving into the border. We've got the lime green here, but it was blue on top. Linda does a lot with color substitution and running out of colors because she's using thrifting materials, right? Also hooking in the style of the 19th century. Really cool. Kathy says, love the big frog's eyes. He's almost laughing at us. He is. He is the one on the left who's almost laughing at us. And Wendy says, the flying jumping frog is so full of energy. It's just such a fun piece, isn't it? It's a very energized piece. So many colors. Oh, that one I already stretched out. So many colors. Absolutely beautiful. Speaking of colors, so this is more like the pieces that you sent last time, Linda. I am loving your city pieces. They totally remind me of the Austrian artist Friedensreich Huntertwasser. Really, really, really architectural, colorful, a little bit Dr. Seussy. It's just fun. It's fun. It's geometry. It's patchwork. It's fun. This is another one of these pieces. So this piece, the city is 36 by 26, and it is all wool strips, t-shirts, and yarn. So it's a mix. All are always done on burlap. I just love that you work with traditional materials, and you just fascinate me. Your work just fascinates me. I love the sort of I don't want to say cartoon style. It's not like you outline everything. When I say cartoon, I don't mean like basic or base or anything like that. Being a cartoonist is really hard. It's very hard to do things with simple lines, right? Leah, I love it too. I love it. It's very hard to do simple. It's almost easier, I'm going to say it, to do things that are, okay, I know everybody's going to take exception, so I'm going to be careful what I say. But when you look at realism, it's a game. You have to put this color here, and the sun is shining here, so that needs to be lighter. This needs to be a little darker, little darker, little darker, very dark. It's in the shade, right? There is mathematics to it. There are rules to it. When you don't work in that style, and you work in the seat of the pants style, everything is up to you, and you don't start with any rules, right? You're not trying to emulate something that is known. You're trying to do something that is completely interpretive and different, right? One is more technical, one is more creative. It doesn't mean they're both not amazingly awesome. They are, but they're very, very different. So when I say you have a cartoony style, I hope that you know how much I love you, and that is never, I'm never diminishing the composition. I think it's fascinating. And I love Huntertwasser too for the same reason. It's absolutely fascinating. Valerie says, such awesome colors. I like to work on burlap too. It's nice and open, right? It's nice and open. You can pull lots of stuff through. You can pull through difficult fibers, right? The holes aren't so tight. It's not such a tight weave. This is just beautiful. And looking at this piece makes me feel like it might be possible I struggle so much with city scenes and scenes that are panned out. You know what I mean? Like broader views. I struggle so much with that because I overthink them. This makes me think, yeah, just do it. Draw the city line. In this case, this is very clever because the horizon line snakes along with the movement of the river, right? So that is really clever because you tend, in my mind, I tend to draw a straight horizon line like a child. And then I go, okay, what's here? It's a city there. How many buildings? How far away are we? What scale should they be? This is really organic and pretty and interesting. And this is more like a city, right? All the cities I know have beautiful ponds and lakes and rivers running through at some point or another. Absolutely beautiful, Linda. You did some gorgeous, gorgeous work again. You should be so happy with your stuff. I love all of it and covet it so so much. Melissa, you sent a really interesting project slash email, as you always do. I'm going to read it to you, and then we're going to look at the pictures. But let me read first because it has a chronology. So Melissa Gauthier wrote, "Good morning, Deanna and Ribbon Candy Hooking friends. It's Thursday morning here, and as I write this to you, so this was yesterday morning. My town is Sackville, New Brunswick. It is a university town. Mount Allison University is a small institution, but mighty, I would say. A number of retirees have developed what they called the Tantramar Seniors College, which encompasses what we refer to as the Tantramar area and includes those small villages and towns connected by a large marsh and wildlife area. It's really quite lovely when you think about it. Well, that is really lovely. A year ago, I wrote to the association offering a rug hooking class for a minimal fee and was warmly received. This is my second May now teaching at the college. I decided to offer 3 consecutive classes. Let me come to you here first. 3 consecutive classes developing rugs that would be reflective of Alex Colville's paintings. Coleville. He was a former fine arts professor at Mount Allison. His family home and studio is still here to tour in the summer. I have 6 participants. None of us are real fans of his color choices or sometimes eerie subject matter, but such challenges create great discussion and growth. I created mini sketchbooks depicting photos of some of Colville's work. So I have sent a few pictures of those. We're going to look at those together. The first session was really a planning session. It's amazing how I began looking at the world, how I began looking at the world these last few weeks as if I was Alex Colville. I have also included a picture of my rug plan for working. There is a rather spooky scarecrow near us who has a cow skull and is holding a bale of hay above his head. Oh, that is very intimidating, isn't it? I am grotesquely fascinated with him and thought he might do well for the fall issue of Magpie. Was I supposed to say that? He would do really well for that. Do it, do it, do it, do it. In the front, in the style of Colville, do it. I don't know if I was supposed to read that part. I saw the photo, so I might skip over that photo. That is perfect. I hope that you can do that. That is perfect. I love that, Melissa. I'm just going to skip that part just in case we save it for Magpie. This is a great idea. I love that you're already thinking about the next issue of Magpie. I have picked an. You know what? I'm just going to show because what you're describing is so good. So this is something you're thinking of working on for the next issue of Magpie, and the theme is the country fair. It's really an autumn theme, right? Anything fall and autumn. Um, I think the deposited hay bale will be in the distance behind him. Let's look at that when we get to it. First, let's look at these books that you made up because they really are. You do such a nice job when you teach. I think about when you taught under that tent and you had things at everybody's place setting, right? So this is Alex Colville's work. So it is quite realistic, but it also has a real 1960s feel for me, like the sort of um, all of the pop artists who illustrated Beatles songs and stuff like that has a little bit of that kind of realism, right? Very humorous, lots of light, right? Plays on light. It's that style of work. It is really extraordinary. So you put together little books of his work that's super helpful approaching. This is a great piece. The Cat and the Artist, 1978. Wow, that is really good. Kirsten, you must be loving that. There's such a story here. It's such a simple composition, but the idea of the cat is the one who's making eye contact and paying attention to us, and the human figure is completely oblivious and much more consumed with a phone call, which brings up different stories, right? Because the body language is relaxed, but it seems like it's a long phone call, right? So that brings up different questions about what's going on behind. The cat's not concerned. The cat's preoccupied with us while he's preoccupied with the phone. Interesting. Beautiful dresser, like glimpse of home life, right, in the background. Beautiful patterning on the bedspread, beautiful patterning on the cat. It's just a gorgeous image. I don't know him as an artist at all. Oh, I like what you did. You did like a quattro, like a Shakespearean publication, right? With like with it folded like a quattro. That's very, very clever. So you had these and you're doing sketches and you were doing your planning for your first class. Now this, let me show you the scarecrow first. I think the scarecrow's here. Yeah, I love this idea, Melissa. I'll just show quickly and then we'll forget about it before the next issue. That is a very odd scarecrow, and I like that very much. And I like this very much. I see the cow skull. I love the material that you're thinking about using. I have picked an earthy plaid for his shirt. Other than the hay, the background will be an empty sky and field, austere. I'll keep you updated on the class's progress. I think this is really exciting because that makes a lot of sense to me too, since you are thinking of and kind of um, feeling like Alex Colville, right? Um, it makes sense for you to be working in his style for a while you're running this class. It makes sense for you to take on the role of an actor and become him as much as you can, so that this is how you find the best sort of tricks and devices that each artist uses, is to totally immerse yourself in their work, even if it's not your style completely, right? That part doesn't matter. You can still peel away the most meaningful parts, the most meaningful tricks that the artist did, and incorporate them into your own work. You take what you like, you use it. The parts that you don't like or you can't see a use for, you let those go, right? That is that you synthesize it, you cull, you put it all in a crucible, and you burn it away, and you take the parts that are left that make sense. Because not everything translates to rug hooking, right? That is so, so, so cool. Just want to be sure. Yep. Melissa, thank you so much for sending that. That is so cool. I'm so excited for the fall piece. I think that's an amazingly great idea. It's so great to be able to look at pieces like that, like the scarecrow, and to think of a story. And it happens to fit so well with what you're doing with Alex Colville, too. So isn't that funny that life is like that, isn't it? Sometimes you see things and it's not the right moment to see them or to hear the thing or whatever. And then you see it again, and then it means something different, or it brings up a different idea. And it's just funny how we filter things as people, because all of the garbage in the front of our minds, I think, is like the chaos of daily life. And the more sort of peaceful, and Melissa, you're a very peaceful person. I'm not a Zen person at all. I'm just full chaos, and I wish that I wasn't, because I feel like I'd be able to take more pieces out of daily life. Like if I was in a traffic jam, right, be able to enjoy the things that I'm seeing as I go along, rather than swearing and being irate and crazy, right? So that's also a good lesson, being able to look at things and say, yeah, I can consume that into my craft, right? I can consume and translate it into something meaningful that tells a story. That's what we're here for, right? So beautiful, Melissa. Big to be continued. Leah. All right, I'm going to take a sip. Leah, you found our Facebook page, Raw Cooking and Punch Needle Club, and you are in Newfoundland. You were in Newfoundland. Okay, I was thinking New Zealand. You said Newfoundland, right? What is wrong with me? You're in the same time zone. What is wrong? I didn't have that many drinks, I promise. You said Newfoundland, right? I'm very happy that you're there. What you posted in Facebook was extraordinary. So I want to read your post first, and then I want to look at the photos that you used. So your post said, "I'm brand new to rug hooking, but I'm loving it so far. Lots to learn, plenty of trial and error, but I haven't lost interest yet. I hope that you never do." Newfoundland. Okay, Leah, what is wrong with me? I hope that you never lose interest, because this is your craft. There's no doubt about it. Here is a mini rug I hooked for my mom's miniature house, as well as another massive project with it in scale. So let's hold on that for a second. This is so beautiful, and this is really hooked, appropriately enough, in the Cheddy Camp style, right? Because Cheddy Camp goes row by row. This, with the exception of the tree and a little bit of the house, it does have that very strong directional hooking element. It's very horizontal. It reminds me of a little Cheddy Camp souvenir rug. What a perfect thing for your mom's miniature house. That is absolutely brilliant. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous piece. Anybody would want this and love this. Now, you started being inspired by other things. You're being inspired. You said, I used to do watercolor painting, so I'm going through my paintings for inspiration. This is something that you did in the past. This is absolutely amazing. You had an idea about a landscape. It's a bit of a Maud Lewis landscape to boot, with one lonely house, right? It looks like the edge of a cliff in Digby or something. One lonely house, but almost like a layer cake. Lots of stacked interest, right? Lots of layers. A little bit of a Princess and the Pea feel with all of the patterning in all of the layers. So you looked back at some of your, and I love this about you, Leah, that you're just starting the craft and you're immediately going to do original artwork. Like you start pulling out compositions that you've done and you're immediately going to original work and thinking about how you can translate pieces that you've done in the past and evolve them into fiber pieces. I think that is the mark of a real genius and someone who's meant to do this craft. So you're going through your paintings for inspiration. So we're seeing these, this one. This also reminds me a little bit of, and it probably shouldn't, but I don't know if anybody's seen this cartoon called Hilda. My daughter Jossa's been watching it a ton lately, and it really, there's a lot of scenes on a cliff. It's like a magical fairy tale landscape. It's a beautiful cartoon. It's a series, 2 seasons, I think. Absolutely beautiful. It had, for me, it has a hint of that just because I saw some of those episodes yesterday. So striking. It's so striking. I've never seen anything like this because the mountain has almost a garment feel to it. It almost looks like it's cloaked in a garment, like a theatrical curtain. It does look like, like eroded rock. Like it looks like the texture is proper rock, but the way that you've broken it up into patterning also reminds me of the way that fabric falls, like, when something is tailored. Really, really stunning. Kirsten says, pictorial Zentangle. Wow. Kirsten is excellent. Leah, Kirsten is excellent at coming up with names for stuff. Pictorial Zentangle. We can't exactly use that because Zentangle is a trademarked word. I'm so sick of people trademarking words. I'm going to keep that to myself. That's all I'm going to say on that subject. But we could say something else, like maybe Zen Doodle or something. Doodle is not copyrighted or trademarked or whatever. That is absolutely right, Kirsten. So I'm looking at this piece. We looked at your other piece. Now let's look at the piece that Leah is actually working on. Whoa! And to boot, there is the little miniature house piece that you made for your mom up on top for scale. There it is at the top. This is absolutely cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I absolutely love this. I think you chose a difficult piece to start with. This is obviously your craft. You're doing really well. It looks like you're working on burlap, and to stop your edges from fraying, you use tape, right? I love this. I love this, love this. You don't have to use expensive backings. You don't have to serge your edges. You work just like this and you get a gallery piece. This looks great. This works great. There's something so calm and slightly hit or miss about the blue water. It's very tonal, very peaceful. Giant, oversized sun or moon, right? All of these elements vying, and then that cliff. Weirdly, the cliff is probably the main character, right? I'm going to have to wait to see how you finish the sky and everything. But you broke it up into patterning that very easily could have become incredibly confusing, but it's not. You are doing it so well. The one thing that your patterns have in common is that it's one color with the framework or the lace work to each pattern is very filigree and fine. So I think this could have been a very confusing composition if you did polka dots and it was 50% background, 50% dot, you know what I mean? But you have the artist, you're obviously an artist, you have the artist instinct of saying, it has to be mostly one color or it won't read well, it's gonna become too confusing. You already have that built in. Like this is really incredible. I like the little bit of green on the top. It really grounds it, no pun intended, in being, we recognize the green as grass, right? Because the rest of it has a lot of fantasy. There's so many elements in this. It has that little dollhouse bling to it. I love that piece. I don't know if that's going to be where it is in the sky hanging there. I love it with no context. I personally love it with no context. I love the size of the sun or the moon. I love the water being calm, the grass being calm, everything else being a bit unpredictable, a bit colorful. It's a very exciting piece. It's a storytelling piece. It's visually super appealing. Your colors are fantastic. Your about that one little piece stands out so much, the little repeat of the house. It's such a great homage to the first piece that you did for your mom. I mean, this is crazy. This is crazy. I don't wanna ask, right? Because I feel like I'm almost holding my breath. I'm very curious to see what you're going to do in the background. Okay, so you said third and fourth pictures are the painting inspiration for my large project, Sedimentary Rock Cliff Face. I'm open to any suggestions or tips for improvement. I'm not going to give you any suggestions for improvement. I will maybe watch what you're doing and be inspired to do some better work myself, but I have no tips. I have no tips. The one thing I would say is I have no doubt that you are going to continue the patterning the same way you have. The patterning is very well balanced, and like I said, it is not confusing. It is a miracle that it's not confusing, right? Because that's a lot of patterning. I think you are, this is like some crazy alchemy that you've got going on here. I don't know how you did it. You did it really well because I even see patterned material, I think, in the second tier and the last tier. I love that it's sedimentary rock. I think it's just, it's a beautiful balance of nature and art, right? It's really, it's a blinged out rock. It's a blinged out cliff face, but it's so much more. It's so interesting and unexpected. It's not like anything I've ever seen. If I saw this in black and white drawn, I would think, like, to be honest, I would think this is never going to work. It's going to be artistic and whatever, but it's going to be very confusing, and people aren't going to be able to look at it and appreciate it. I would have been super wrong, right? And I love it. I love it. I love this show because when I look at other people's work, I realize how little I know about everything. You are so right. You know what? The cliff is the main character. The sedimentary rock is the main character, but as a collective, right? The layers don't work independently. It is a collective. It is like a giant. You know those rainbow cakes now that have like 100 different colors. It is the ultimate version. It is the rainbow cake on steroids. It's a beautiful celebration of a sedimentary rock face or cliff face. It's just gorgeous. It has elements of home, and I love that the sun is shining on the grass on top, and there's a little picture of a house. Like everything relatable and cozy is up on that top level. Everything that refers to home and is recognizable is up on that top level. Um, oh, I got to read your comment. And everything else is a bit of a fantasy world. So far, I'm curious about this guy. My mom said, gorgeous. Zen doodle patterning. There we go. Wow. I thought Zen tangle right away, but Zen doodle or Zen patterning is super fine. It absolutely is. We have That's the thing about people trademarking words, right? Even though English has more words than any other language, we still don't have enough words. I feel that there are still not enough words. Why would people want to keep words away from other people? I just don't understand. I just don't understand. That's my blanket statement on the subject, and I'll never feel any differently. No one's ever going to talk me out of it. It drives me crazy. Because what Zen, for example, Zen Doodle makes a lot of sense, or Zen Tangle, whatever. It's very visual, and we all know what you mean, right? If we all start shoring up our own language to make some extra cash, we're not going to be able to say anything. Our mouths are going to have to be stitched shut. Okay, I'm getting angry, so I'm stopping. Leah said, no house in the large piece. The cliff will be the focus. There we go. Now, do you have a thought? Oh my goodness, you guys are making my heart burst. Oh, I'm so glad. You're doing such a good job. You have to stay in touch. You have to stay close. I really want to see what you're working on and where you're going. And this is a big deal to all of us because this is very, very different. You are right on the edge of doing. You are do. You are right on the edge. You are doing very, very different work. And it's different and beautiful, right? It's not different for the sake of being different. It's different and beautiful, and it's meaningful. You've got a real fusion of styles in here. I'm definitely going to run over tonight, just so you all know. It's amazing. The cliff will be the focus. Valerie said her artistry in the new medium of fiber. It's amazing. It's a given, right? It's innate, right? So you have to honor and respect that. When you come to a craft and you're this good right out of the gate, that's something to share. It's something to pursue and something to share because it's not a mistake, right? This isn't a one-off. Pamela says in years to come, we will all say this is so Leah Fudge. I love that. I love that. We are gonna so say that you're gonna be one of those rare people, Leah, your first piece was for your mom and for the dollhouse. This is your first like proper piece, right? You're gonna be one of those rare people that everyone says her first piece was amazing. So make sure you never part with this piece. It's just too good. It's gonna mean too much in the future. Um, yeah, this is amazing. It's just amazing. So I'm so curious to see what's next. I'm loving where you are, and I'm so curious. I'll be having a special eye out for you. So I really want to see what you're doing. Really good. Thank you so much. Now, Barbara, you sent in something interesting to talk about a departure, right? So Barbara sent in this is another great story. Um, and she wrote, the copy below, that's what I'm about to read you, was written before I started the rug at the Manistee Rug School, or Manistee, June 20th, 2023, and finished it by the 250th anniversary date, which is September of 2023. So the pattern is on Scottish burlap. The pattern is aubergine. So I think the background is aubergine. There we go. Barbara wrote, this is Barbara Cornish, I have had this beauty for many years, but wanted to actually hook it during the 250th anniversary of the Hector's journey from Scotland to Pictou, Nova Scotia. This pattern, named the Hector, was first printed in 1923 by the Garrett family's Blue Nose Hooked Rugs and made available to the public in 2003 by Linda McDonald of Rags to Rugs, before eventually finding its way to me. My love of history, Scotland, the maritime provinces, and admiration of Linda's commitment to preserving our rug hooking heritage make this the perfect pattern for me to tackle. This is amazing for the 250th anniversary. This is so special. At 30 by 54, it will be the largest project to date. Wish me well. So that was from um, June 20th of 2023. P.S. The Garnet Blue Nose Patterns by the Teachers Branch Rug Hooking Guild of Nova Scotia is a wonderful read. It is a wonderful book, and you can get these patterns now. So this is really interesting. Um, so the boat is called the Hector. Pictou, I think, is like a county or a province in Nova Scotia, right? And the date celebrating the 250 years, 1773 to 2023. So Barbara, just in keeping with the way that you work, in your own words, you love a challenge, you love a project. You wanted to give yourself the project of completing this rug in time for the anniversary, and of course you did. You are a wizard. You work so well. This is Scottish burlap, right? Absolutely beautifully executed. It is such a great celebration to see an old pattern like this looking this gorgeous, right? This colorful, this gorgeous. So I'm kind of working back. Look at the leaves. Like, look at the leaves. Look at the shading on the banner. Look at the scroll, the thistles for Scotland, right? It's all incredible. And I think aubergine was the perfect color for the back. When I'm looking at your colors here, that would have been my first choice, without a doubt, first choice. I think black would be too severe. Oh, look at this. Look at all the colors you've got in the leaves, in the boat. Look at the color change. You are so good. Look at the color change on the top of the boat, in the waves, right? Slightly color changing outlining, right? That creates such magic. Sometimes your eye doesn't clock that something is color changing. You just look at a rug and you say, ooh, there's something going on there. And sometimes you don't get what it is. It's usually that there's something that is not static. There's something that is a variable, like a moving target. And it can often be a spot dyed or color changing wool or patterned wool that you're using, and there's something that is not a constant. And it does create your mind sometimes reads it when your eye doesn't clock it. You know what I mean? It's so much fun when that happened. Pamela says, let me go back. Barbara did send a picture of the thistle, but I couldn't open it. That was the other one today that I couldn't open. Um, but the thistles are extraordinary. Let me stretch it open a little bit so we can look a little bit more. Pam says, it is just so beautiful. The thistle border is just stunningly done. as are the rest of the elements in the rug. Absolutely. And Valerie says a classic beauty. Well done. You know, it is a classic beauty, and it's so exciting. You know, we just looked at Leah's new work, and God, it was so exciting. And now we're looking at his actually historic pattern, also so exciting. That's the great thing about this craft, right? We have however 1860s to now, however many years, to be able to work forward, work backward, work in the moment. We can go in any direction we want, but revisiting these older historic patterns is always a great exercise because it forces you to pull out motifs, emphasize stuff, make make color choices, right? Make really distinct and deliberate choices, because sometimes the more historic patterns can be more minimalist, and this one is. So doing that kind of color change and shift in the veins of the scrolls, you see down below how the scrolls, the vein in the center is color changing. The leaves are color changing. That right there, you can see it much better. The water is color changing under the boat. I love that it's not all shaped out with this bowl of blue water. It's just amazing the way that it is the Canadian leaves, right, and that nice autumny color changing. It's just beautiful, Barbara. It's a great piece. It's a great piece to have in the show. Thank you so much. I'm running over. I'm so sorry. Jay Sam says Pictou is a town in the province of Nova Scotia, pronounced Pictou. Thank you so much. I have yet to go there. Thank you so much. I'm going to try to remember that. Pictou. Pictou. That's weird, isn't it? Because it's not the French pronunciation either. Pictou. Interesting. Yeah, Leah says sharp detail on that. Super fun piece. Now this was a funny message also from Michelle. She sent this I think today or yesterday. Michelle wrote, "My hubby and I ventured out last Saturday to an estate sale, and this little jewel jumped right out at me and said that I must buy it." Michelle wrote, "I am a sucker for vintage velvet paintings, but this is just the most magical thing I've ever seen. Thought y'all would enjoy seeing this as we wait in anticipation for the next Magpie Times next month. You are so sweet. Magical vibes will be with you and everyone. Hope you all are well. Sending my love and hugs. Love and hugs to you too, sweetie." Oh, this is so funny. So earlier on we saw your three rabbits, and now we saw what you picked up at an estate sale. And I have to say, it's so funny that you sent this because it was just the other day I went to the book barn here in Connecticut, and I picked up a book. I wish that I had gotten it now. It was one of those Schiffer books about velvet paintings, and I have to say I flipped through the book, and I thought I'm really surprised because I don't have a good sort of impression in my mind of velvet paintings, but I have to say when I flipped through the book, I thought, ooh, this is like there are some in here that are extraordinary pieces, art pieces. This I don't remember seeing in the book. It might well have been because it was really thick. But this is a beautiful piece. I have to say, I would have been very tempted to get this piece too, at least, if not just snapped it up. It is super magical, right? It has the weird kind of, not weird, but it has the kind of Kilimanjaro mountains in the background, or maybe the Tetons, a couple of Tetons right there. It's a funny landscape. The velvet paintings for me, the one thing they lack is belief, right? And it's not the technique because the technique is flawless and it's interesting. This is a story. This is a storybook cottage, but the hills in the background seem like much more of a Western landscape, like an American West or an Eastern country's landscape, and they don't fit as well as for me, like more trees would fit. It's still a really fantastic, fun, and in Michelle's words, magical, right? This is a very magical composition. Look at how well done the house is. It's really interesting, isn't it? We see a lot of fairy book cottages in rug hooking. This is the most moody fairy tale cottage I've ever seen. One thing that velvet paintings do that's great for us and can transfer into our rug hooking is that I've got to read some of these comments I see coming up. Is that the velvet painting translates easily and well to rug hooking, without a doubt, right? Because we're looking at contrast, we're looking at colors and shapes, we're looking at how things are handled on a fiber as opposed to like a painting. April says the frame on this velvet painting is also really neat. It really is, isn't it? I noticed the same thing. I'm like, how is this working? This is really like a scroll or something that's opened. It's just cool. It reminds you to just check when you're looking at stuff. This is I want this. I want this piece. This is just a really fun, funky, mysterious piece. It's filled with atmosphere, right? Could be the cover of an Agatha Christie paperback. It's very, very fun. Very fun. Really fun thing to send in. Pam said the velvet paintings were at one time in the 60s. Elvis, the big eyed crying kids, right? The Margaret, what was her name? Margaret. Oh, you know, we talk about her a lot. The big eyes, the kids with the big eyes. Not everyone's taste. No, but then there were these great fairy tale scenes that were filled with magical day and night. Um, this one works particularly well, right? Because it's on black velvet. It's a very cool piece. Very fun. Very fun. Cool thing to send in, Michelle. I love it. Kirsten, I'm going to take a sip. We are really running over. I'm sorry. Um, couple more to go, and it's well worth it. Kirsten, you know how I flipped out when I saw this piece because I left you a message that can never be played for anybody else. Really, wow. Margaret Keene, thank you, Dave. That's it. Wow. So Kirsten is working on this cat. Right? Kirsten, what's the name of this piece? Do you see what she's doing here? She's doing a Kirsten. She's doing a Kirsten Gay. This is this is standing wool. You see the whiskers? This is standing wool, and Kirsten is hooking around the standing wool so it stays standing. And we are getting those super wiggly, amazingly realistic whiskers. Isn't it always a thing? How do you get whiskers on a cat? Sometimes they're too lumpy. This is the most original approach that I've ever seen to doing whiskers. This is an extraordinary piece. All of Kirsten's pieces are exceptional. This is no exceptional. No exception. Look at the shading. Look at the color choices. It is a cat's head. It is insanely colorful. Name of this piece is Kitty. It's my childhood cat named Kitty. Oh, Kitty is absolutely beautiful. The mouth draws you in. Barbara, it does. That little grayish pink lip. Right, very very stoic. Cats have very stoic faces, don't they? They never look like they're cracking a smile like dogs do. A very serious face, but also very gentle. Look at the eyes, right? There's a haziness to the eyes. Look at the amount of color in each eye. I mean, this we did a video, right? Like last July, right, Kirsten? And we need to do another one, right? We need to do another one. As soon as I come back from the Cape, we have to plan that. We need to look at your work in detail. The amount of color that's in your pieces is impossible. The way that you've broken off the left side of the cat's face and you're going with a completely different color scheme and it's going to work, that is that's incredible. That's high art. It's like the same approach that pop art took, but then you took a detour. You took a detour before you hit pop art, and you went back. You went back to like old masters. You know, it's like your work encompasses so many different styles and eras of fine art that it's impossible. I honestly don't know how you do it. All I can do is keep talking to you about it, keep showing it because it's so impressionistic. That's what it is. It's so impressionistic. I want to. Linda says how you work with colors and materials is so special and wonderful. It is. I want to look at it closer up. Let me look at. Okay, let's look at it from this angle. I'm going to stretch this a little bit so we can see it a little bit better. I want you to see all the different fibers that Kirsten works with too, because it's like a crazy party. It's like a nutty fest. So you see the way that the fibers are the standing wool is standing up, the whiskers. Straight pieces of wool, cut pieces of wool. They are held in place, right? They are hooked around. It's all bunched up, right? Heavily populated, keeping them in place. Kirsten, are you stitching any of the standing wool to the backing fabric, or is it all being held by the height and pile of the other loops? If you look closely, you see lots of yarn, boucle, like lightly spun, like very light twist yarn, roving style yarn, velvet. The eyes look like velvet. The cheeks, I see lots of velvet. I see substitutions for the dark black, bottle green, purple, lavender. Kathy says he looks like he's peeking out from a garden of flowers. He does. Metallics, right? Metallics, pearly ribbons. but yet you are such an artist, Kirsten. You're such an artist. The whiskers are stitched to the backing, so you just like tacked the bottom side that's touching the backing, and then you let the loops cover that tacking. Obviously, what a clever lady, right, Gail? I mean, it's just there's so much to say. There's so much to say. Kirsten, I want to run up there. Seriously, when I come back from the Cape, if we're not able to do the 4th of July again together, and maybe we are, but if we're not, I'll come up before because I really want to look at this stuff super close up and all of your other pieces and talk about them. The whiskers are a wool blanket, so it's stiff. That's a great thing to know because when we see wool blankets and stuff, particularly when they're all soiled and crapped out, we tend to not go for them because it's too thick to hook with a wool blanket. But you could use a wool blanket in this way, right? This is absolutely perfect. There's something so fetching about this snowy white kind of muzzle nose, and then the rest of it being so dark. The color shift it just looks impossible to me, and yet you did it. The piece works unfinished as well. That's so true, isn't it, Valerie? It's so true. I'm so glad you take pictures. Take lots and lots. I know you do, but just a reminder. Always take lots and lots because seeing the order that you're doing things in is helpful. I mean, I think there's probably a handful of people on Earth who can figure this out and work in a similar style, right? You can never kind of repeat this, but work in a similar style. I think, Kirsten, more and more as you work, you are evolving this style. It is very particular. It is weirdly open, right? It is a very open and interpretive style, but at the same time, there are a lot of elements that need to be in place. The variety needs to be in place, the variety of texture, of width of your materials. You're saying whiskers and wool. The materialist. There's a materialist in the email. Oh my gosh. Okay, sorry, I didn't read it. Okay, let me shut up for a second and read the email. This is my beloved childhood friend Kitty. I am working to capture her stare and her sweet personality with texture and depth. The whiskers are a thick recycled wool blanket on edge. Current materials include my first drop spindle silk yarn. Okay, so you did that. Sari silk, recycled silk clothing in polyester fabric, jacket lining, novelty yarn, hand-dyed stretch velvet, and recycled stretch velvet, new wool yarn and fabric, new, nylons, and bits of roving turned into yarn by rolling on my knee. That's fantastic. So you just gave the shape. Like, you know, when you have roving, it's like a piece of cotton candy. You just roll it a little bit on your knee, and it gives enough substance for you to be able to hook with it. Same thing you do when you twist cotton candy before you put it in your mouth, right? Same kind of weird process. Melissa says heart and soul. Andrea says this is so beautiful. It makes me want to tackle doing fly. Oh, fly. That's who I was thinking of earlier. He's drawn out. I've just not had the courage to start for fear of not doing him justice. It is so recent still too, Andrea. I mean, it must feel like it's super recent. And Kirsten says, yes, indeed, the blanket was soiled and crapped out. Well, it feels so good to use stuff that otherwise would be an atrocity and people would want to throw it out. We can still use that stuff. Zeros, Madison from Mississippi. Oh, good to see you. Welcome. Popping in from the baseball tournament. The cat is gorgeous, isn't it? Isn't it gorgeous? And Kirsten forgot to say in the list of supplies, ribbon. I saw some white ribbon for sure. Kirsten says, the girls in the Zoom taught me how to do the rolling of the roving thing. The rolling of the roving. Yep. It's absolutely beautiful. I want to spend a lot more time on it. I'm going to keep going because it's gallery night. But just so all of you know, I will be visiting Kirsten and staying at your place. And we're just going to look at your rugs. We'll probably do a couple episodes where we just look in detail and just fawn over. And you are so forthcoming with your help too. All of your patterns are available. Most of your patterns are available at Ribbon Candy Hooking. But it does take a lot of you to help get that look, get the Kirsten Gay going. You know what I mean? So we should talk more about that because you are always so helpful and willing to tell other people how you got these effects because it's not instinctive. So we will do that sooner rather than later, I promise. Oh, wow, we do have a bunch more. Okay, let's keep going. Okay. Um, Karen, you sent some beautiful pieces because you just came back from an amazing trip. So Karen wrote, "This is a Cheddy Camp style rug so you were in Nova Scotia, you were having a trip and it was very rug hooking heavy. You had a great adventure and you have a bunch of things to show us that are the spoils of your trip. This is one of them. This is a Cheddy Camp style rug that I won at a Nova Scotia rug hooking school. It was created by Betty Ann Cormier, famous name in Cheddy Camp, right? Who's a fourth generation Cheddy Camp rug hooker from Cheddy Camp. She's now in her 70s and she's been hooking since she was 6. She doesn't draw out her designs, she just starts hooking. Isn't that interesting? I just want to remind you also, did you see the note on our Facebook page, Rug Hooking and Punch Needle Club, that Robin Wright posted another Cheddy Camp class? I don't remember. I didn't really look at the details because I know I wouldn't be able to take it. But I think it is Betty Ann Cormier who's doing that class as well. I think. But give it a check because last time there was a Cheddy Camp class, it sold out immediately, and it might be sold out already. I don't know, but if you're interested, give it a check. So Betty Ann's been hooking since she was 6. She doesn't start with a pattern. She just talk about seat of the pants. She just does it. This particular piece she brought to hook on last year during rug school. She hadn't signed up for a class, but was set up in the hallway doing hooking on your own with other folks who didn't want to sign up for a class either. Anyway, she was hooking on this, and she had anyone who wanted to try hook on it as well. Oh, that's so interesting. So lots of people hooked on it. It was one of about 60 I was one of about 60 people who did. Karen, so you worked on this piece as well. Oh my God. She said she would donate the completed rug to this year's silent auction that benefits the Nova Scotia Rug Hooking School. Since then, I've become good friends with her, and I was bound and determined to win it, and I did. Karen, you must have been. I can't imagine. I know you behave as more of a grown up than I do, but you must have been panicked. I would have been. My stomach would have been in a knot, cramps, right? Worrying with all of that history and knowing that a bunch of people hooked it, including you. That must have been such a feeling to have won it, right? Because you've been thinking about this piece for a year. That is so beautiful. Let me check the next slide and see if I have a close up because we talked about Cheddy Camp hooking. No, let me stretch this one then. When we were looking at Leah's piece, the little house, let's look at Cheddy Camp hooking. It is really specific. It is done with yarn and it is done in rows. It has an order. Judy, this is maybe closer to needlepoint than anything that we do in rug hooking. You see what I mean? Karen says, yes, it's Betty Ann Cormier who's doing the Cheddy Camp course. Well, okay, so if you're interested in learning how to do this, I would get going on it. Karen, do you remember the part that you hooked on it when you were there last year? God, that's so beautiful, isn't it? So much texture, so fine, isn't it? It's just so fine. And for me, Cheddy Camp has a real cartoon quality too, again, in the best possible way. I don't mean naive. I don't mean overly folky. I mean, it's just a look. There's a lot of outlining. It's got a nice border, not too heavy, just bringing it back a little bit. I want to look at this corner together real fast. Oh, I just love that corner. I just love that intermittent color on the corner. I love the patterning on the lighthouse. It probably looks just like that, or maybe not, knowing the way that she hooks. The patterning of the water, how it disappears to the sky. There isn't a huge distinction between the color of the water, the color of the sky. That makes all of the pieces in the foreground, all of the buildings, a big part of the story, doesn't it? Right? We're not looking for the sunset. We're not looking for boats at sea. We're really looking at what's here. And the story is this little cluster, the little village around the lighthouse. My blood pressure was through the roof at the end of the silent auction. God, I know how you feel. Isn't it the worst feeling, those stressful moments? You want something so badly sometimes, and you're so worried that other people don't understand or that they're going to flip it or they're not going to care about it or they're going to put it away or change their mind. Yeah, these moments are so stressful. I think we all know that feeling of something means so much to you and you want it so badly. I'm so glad that you got it. And you sent a couple other pieces. Let's look at these. So you started working on stuff. I'll stretch this one out too. So you said, hold on. So this is the current project that you started when you were in Nova Scotia at the rug school last week, and it was taught by Linda Marchbank. The goal behind this project was to learn about different stitches and fibers and how they work together with each other. Oh, how fun is that? So I know nothing about that. That's so, so, so cool. So far, I have done sculpting, the chain stitch, the bead stitch, the ditch stitch, and the turkey stitch. Wonder if the turkey stitch is the same as like the quilting turkey stitch, like the crazy quilting stitch. I'll be adding one or two more stitches, types of stitches before I'm done. I've used merino, wool roving, sari silk, wool strips, and wool yarn. A lot of the gals in my class chose to work with cool colors, but I chose to work with warm colors, which I really like. I really do too. I have to agree with you. I want to stretch this out a little bit. I have to agree with you. I like so much that it's not like super frosty. You know what I mean? Not that there's anything wrong with that, but hold on, let me get this one stretched out a little bit. I like that it's not that bluey, frosty stuff. Although I like that too. This for me is way more interesting. I see what you mean. You've got oh, good Lord. Look at all of these stitches. Wow. Oh, that must have been amazing. It feels like winter, but somehow warm. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It does. You know, working in these whites reminds me of the best kind of macrame. I've always been a great lover of macrame. Obviously, it's way more evolved than that. But looking at these little stitches that look like knots, this is incredible. Karen, you must have had so much fun, right, Diane? These are all beautiful pieces. I'm going to scroll a little bit up. Is that Waldeboro? That the snow on the trees, is that Waldeboro? And then it looks like you have a layer of clipped wool, so just hooked but clipped, a little bit of a higher pile. You know, this is a wonderful, Linda says, texture with a capital T. Absolutely. And then some regular stitching in here too. This is a wonderful sampler. What a smart idea. Was it Linda? Yeah, Linda Marchbank. What a smart idea. Basically using a composition that's tall and skinny and using the different layers for different techniques, right? Because they are sort of relegated to one specific area, not kind of bleeding into each other. And you do get an effect that is like a proper sampler. It is just stunning. And you made a little bit of progress on it. So let me make this a little bit bigger too. Hang on. I just want to share this. Sorry, my finger's doing crazy stuff. All right, here we go. Let me make this a little bit bigger too. You made a lot of progress on this, Karen, because you've just been home, right? Just a couple of days now. God, this looks pretty. I can see that's I think the sari silk there, the one that's kind of in ivory, the undyed or the base color, so pretty, particularly with the white trees against it. Isn't that lovely? God, it's so pretty, isn't it? All these soft colors. Who knew there were so many lights and whites, right? Isn't that just gorgeous? Wow, you're almost done. Sculpting with merino wool on the trees. Wow. Well, you've only got a little ways to go, but I'll still want to see a photo when it's completely finished. Love the directional hooking on the little house too. Some things that are just mysterious, right, that you have to be taught. Other things that we recognize and we do as rug hookers. Most of this is really unusual and couture. It is a couture version of hooking. Karen, this is gorgeous. The one that you won in this piece that you're working on is just stellar. Thank you so much. What a stunning contribution. All right, I'm coming up here. Oh, Melissa, I had to pull this from Facebook. I just had to. I'm sorry. I should have asked you, but you posted this, and it was just this is you call it proggy. It depends on where you're from. I typically say proddy. Proggy is British or Canadian, but it is hooking or pushing through much larger pieces of wool or any material, not just wool. So this piece you call Sister. This has been an interesting experiment in proggy for yours truly. I intended for her to be a nun, and she is, but her expression is rather sad. She is growing on me, though, and it was so fun to try something different. We've decided to call her simply Sister here at the Gautier house. Well, I absolutely love her. Here's a close-up of her. Just goes to show you, you can't do everything with Prati, but you can do more than you think. And I see what you mean about her mouth, but for me, since I grew up with nuns, to me this looks exactly like Sister Colette. Not always the sweetest face, but we loved her very, very much. This was the most typical face that you would see. I mean, it looks like a very realistic portrait. I'm sure. I mean, she was 100 when I was 10, so I'm sure. May she rest in peace. That's been a long time, certainly since I've seen her. But man, it is uncanny. The resemblance is uncanny. The texture that you get in Prati is just over the top. I love all the different materials. This is just incredible. This is one of my all-time faves. It really is, because it's so sentimental for me, being growing up around so many different nuns. It's just, Melissa, it's just an amazing piece. It's a gorgeous artistic piece, but it's also a really, really smart, um, very creative piece. You know that you can't go everywhere with Prati, but what you did was really smart. The real inspiration for me is the collar, right? What you did with that collar really makes it a nun for me, because it's like I'm thinking like could be a dark thing in a scarf, but then when you see that collar, it's absolutely a nun. So really beautiful. Gail says those eyes follow you everywhere. Exactly. The hollows of the eyes, kind of like that character from the Muppet. You know who I mean? With the hollow eye sockets. Still Sister Colette. I'm sorry, Sister Colette. May you rest in peace. Still Sister Colette. Um, I just love this piece. And I also love the colors. I love this piece. Melissa, I love this. I love this piece. Okay, I'm stopping. Um, Kathy says, I had Sister Marie St. Joseph. I think you must have encountered her too. I definitely did. Along with Sister Marie Louise, who was the big, she used to have a lot of fart attacks, like in the library. She was the librarian. And Sister Colette was often in there with her, never like chatting and smiling, always kind of. You remember Sister Colette, right, Mom? She scared the bejesus out of you. Sister Colette, Sister Marie Louise. The scariest one was the principal. I forget what her name was. A few of the nuns came and went, but they were all older ladies, and they had the same kind of dour expressions, much like this. Reminds me a little bit of Madeline, the book Madeline too. You know what I mean? Just like that real stoic quality to the character. It becomes a bit of a caricature without a lot of information. And with Prada, you can't get a lot of information. It's not possible. So it does become stylized. And this is the best version of Prada I can think of. This is my favorite Prada piece that I've seen. I have to say, this is my favorite, my all-time fave. And Sister Marie Louise, I'm going to have nightmares. I know, because you assisted her, Mom. I don't know what you were thinking, but you signed up to assist her for fun in the library. And man, she was something else. Yeah, I'm going to have nightmares too. Sister Colette was much more manageable. So, you know what? I want to close the episode. I want to show you a few of the things I'm working on here. And Magpie is coming out. The closing date was today, and I am not finished, and I've not sent my stuff to Judy yet. And that is not good. But I have been beyond. I've been beyond the beyond. So this is some crops of the fairy tale houses that I did. Pixie Hollow Condominium Association LLC. It is an enormous piece for me. I don't know why I did such a big piece, but another piece like Kirsten's with lots of different materials and fibers. These happen to be shots with lots of wool. But man, there's a lot of different yarns and crazy yarns and stuff in here. It's all over the place. I did a lot with color changing and dip dyed yarn too for the background. It's, I think, a really fun piece. I'm very, very happy with it. Very happy that it's done too. This is the piece I was working on today, and I recorded a video today in case you are wide awake and you have more in you. I posted it about 15 minutes before I started the live show tonight. But it doesn't show you the end result because I haven't finished it yet. But this is a crochet feature that's going to be in Magpie, and I'm working with crocheted flowers. So I did a video on this that takes you through some of the stages without doing a big reveal, because I want to save that as a surprise for the magazine. I am working inside a frame, and the frame is really beat up. It's an old Victorian frame, very large, very thick. So I ordered some sprinkles, some of these keywords on Amazon: confetti, foil, flakes, um, glitter. Flake glitter. It comes in all different colors. I got these particular two because I'm planning for the Midsummer Magic issue. I'm planning to spray glue, right, a layer, and then sprinkle. Man, is this going to be a mess, right? All this glitter on the frame just to make it extra magical. I haven't done that yet either. Speaking of magical and strange, I just had to pop this one in at the end of the episode. We came in yesterday after running some errands, and Joss had come home from her friend's house in the meantime and was home alone. And the door was locked because she locked it, which is good. She's in nice and safe and sound. But she was walking around with this mask on, and you can imagine how startling this would be. And on one hand, I posted this on Facebook. I'm so encouraged that she's so creative, and she does so much with three-dimensional patterning because this is a very long snout. There's no paper towel roll in there, or toilet paper roll. She is getting good, Judy. She's very into the three-dimensional stuff. You see how there's like a couple of hairs on the top right and then lower left. She does very asymmetrical work. It's very strange. It's very frightening. It keeps happening. I keep turning the corner and there's something like this there. But she is such a sweet girl, such a great love. This is another great love. My helper Pitter Pat, who is helping today, I'm going to show you one more photo that coincides, that works with the crocheted flowers for the piece that I'm doing. And Pitter Pat was helping, that's in air quotes, because there were balls of yarn present, so obviously helping wasn't exactly helping. But I was doing a technique that's in the video where I was rug hooking with yarn text into wool. So when I say wool, I mean rug hooking wool. I stretched a piece of rug hooking wool over my frame, and you can see in the video I transferred the lettering, and I am simply rug hooking with a fine hook into wool. So when you see this, you can't really tell in the photo, but it's modeled, right? It's got some pretty colors going on in there. When you have wool that you feel you just can't cut, or that you want to add text to, or that you want to add pictures to, you can absolutely rug hook into your wool. Check it first. Stretch it onto your frame and find the finest hook that you can find. Crochet hook's not going to go into it. Medium hook's not going to work. It's got to be a super fine hook that looks like a pin. Rug hooking hook, but super, super, super fine. Possibly even like a lace type supplies might work for something like this. Has to be tiny and sharp at the tip. And you will be able to rug hook into wool, right? So we talk about that sometimes, but I don't think we talk about that enough. We're always focused on backing materials and what can you do in your backing material so you can leave it exposed. If you want to leave it exposed, maybe you don't want to hook into a traditional backing material. Maybe you want to hook into wool that's already colored. Just saying. All right, everybody, we ran way over, and that pizza is not going to eat itself. Lisa, I still have to do your dyeing tonight. Kathy says, Joss has so much imagination, like mother, like daughter. My mom says, I love that mask by Joss. Yeah, I love them too. It's just startling. It really is. All right. So, hey, listen, everybody, have a great weekend. I've got some great products out there. I'm on vacation next Thursday, but I'm with you before then, Monday and Wednesday. And, yep, I have the Design Like the Group of Seven class that's there for you, ready for sign up. I'll have my pizza. And I've got the Hit or Miss class. It doesn't look great because I haven't done the piece yet. I'm doing it with you in class. It's going to be amazing. So that's there for you, and a few new products. Remember that Halloween book I'm working on. Look at the Ribbon Candy Hooking Halloween patterns. If you have other Halloween ideas and you want to check in with me, I don't want to say everything and spoil everything, but if you have ideas or specific questions and you want to talk about the Halloween book more, send me a message at ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com. I can answer more specific questions if you have a more specific question. But anything you hook from the Rug Hooking Candy catalog that is for Halloween, or it might be a free pattern that you are willing to donate to the book so that other people can hook it too. I would want to hear all about that kind of stuff. I want it to be a huge and comprehensive, first ever really big all Halloween and high autumn high autumn color, right? Harvest stuff. Yeah, be thinking about that too as you choose your next projects. Okay, I have to ask earrings, skulls or balloons. Actually, it's the Mona Lisa. It's little like plastic printed Mona Lisas, stylized Mona Lisas. They don't sit very well, do they? Loved gallery night. Me too. I'm so glad that you're all there. It's so much fun spending time together. I was really high strung, but now I feel a lot better. It's just great. It's great spending some time together, doing a little bit of cheers, my dears. And I will look forward to seeing you all on Monday, where we will pick up Priscilla Bazell, and then I think on I'm gonna have to think what day I want to start looking at the Cape Cod show. I don't want that to wait too long, but I don't have a ton of time before I go on vacation. We'll see how that goes. You will find me at ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com. If you're interested in any of the vintage patterns that are left over, there are plenty left over. So you can let me know if you're interested in those. If you are shopping for specific rug hooking books, I'm about to list a ton of rug hooking books. Some of them are really rare titles, the ones that are more expensive, the ones that are very hard to find, and they pop up once a year at best. Let me know if you're book shopping too, right? So we can get those things done in the next few days before I leave on a long vacation. Happy weekend, everybody. I will see you Monday. One last cheers, my dears. Have a